So what we want to do is cultivate a capacity for kindness. So, close your eyes. Take a few moments to breathe in and breathe out. So what we want to do is cultivate a capacity. Hello, chat. Lovely chattars. Welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream. My name is Alok Kanoja. Just a reminder that although I am a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment purposes only. So if y'all have a concern or question, medical concern or question, please go see a licensed professional. So, couple of stuff. So what we're going to do is look at a couple of TikToks today relating to burnout. So I guess we're going to talk a little bit about burnout today. And then we're going to do call-ins. So we're going to do call-ins from people in our community related to burnout and just sort of exploring what burns you out. Before we dive in, just a couple of quick announcements. One is at 2 p.m., I think we're going to have an Ask a Coach on our Discord relating to burnout. So y'all can hop on and ask coaches questions from our coaching program about, what's going on with you and burnout, and try to get a sense of how coaches may be able to help you with that. We do have a career coaching program that has good outcomes. So we'll see, for example, like a 25% increase in confidence around your career trajectory at around 8 to 12 weeks. So we help people kind of think through things relating to their careers. Also in terms of like concrete skills building. So how to have conversations to advocate for yourself at work, how to do things like mediate conflict, how to understand why it's hard for you internally to do the things that you may want to do, whether that's find a different job, ask for a promotion, set boundaries with people at work. So it's very different from our general coaching program in that it's a lot more, career focused and also has a different set of kind of skills. We partnered with Ethan Evans, who's a former VP from Amazon, and is an executive coach and has coached tons of people in terms of like creating this kind of thing. Kind of in a similar vein, just a heads up that there are only about 100 spots left for the first session on us program that we're doing in our coaching program. So if y'all are interested, maybe somewhere between 100 and 200 spots left. So if y'all are interested, I would strongly encourage you to sign up like soonish or nowish, because they'll probably be gone in, a couple of days or so, I would imagine, at the rate that they're going. So if y'all are interested in trying out coaching and are curious about, what it can do for you, first session's on us right now, and it'll probably end within a couple of days or as soon as those spots fill up. So yeah, let's hop in. How y'all doing today? Doing good? Ask a Coach topic for today is, I thought it was burnout related. Oh no, so Ask a Coach today is on shame? Okay, so it's on shame. Thanks for pointing it out if I got it wrong. I thought it was on burnout, but okay, so my bad. So I know we're doing some burnout stuff today. I think the Ask a Coach event today is on shame, and I think if I remember correctly, we're doing like one emotion every week for the next 6 weeks in Ask a Coach, right? That's what we're doing? Yeah, so this is our Right in the Feels event that's going on right now. So just a quick, thanks for pointing that out, y'all. This is an event that we've got. It's our, I think, 4th major community event that we've done in the last couple of months. So this event runs for a little bit longer and focuses on helping people in our community understand what they feel, identify their feelings, start to regulate their feelings, and hopefully not allow your feelings to control you. And so we're going to do lectures on emotions and stuff. So there's a lot of cool science around emotion. And then so we're going to try to do a lot of different stuff. So there's going to be some content around that in terms of like lectures and things like that. We may do call-ins around emotions as well. But then if y'all are curious about how coaches sort of work with some of these emotions, and the goal of coaching is a little bit different from what we sort of think of as standard goals of therapy. So if you think about when, most therapists will do clinical work, although that's not exclusively what they do. Coaches are not really interested in emotional processing for its own sake. It's really about figuring out how do your emotions interfere with your goals, and how can you start understanding your emotions and how they impact like your motivation and focus and things like that. So if y'all are interested in that, check out Ask a Coach on Shame. Shame on me for not knowing. Okay. Yeah, so someone's asking, is the ADHD guide worth it? Y'all tell us. So we are collecting outcomes on people who use the guide. So in a couple of weeks, hopefully we'll be able to share with y'all, like depending on what the response rate is, about whether there's actually like scientific evidence that improve people's lives. But so Nicholas Zero is saying, so Naitra Streams is asking, curious if it's worth it. Nicholas Zero is saying, I bought it. It's very, very interesting. I'm currently watching it and I learned a lot of things, but I watched like only 10 videos. Good. So take it slow, right? It's not a race to the end. Zanjibar saying, hey, Dr. K, wanted to pop in and say thank you for what you do. Your videos literally changed my life. Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm assuming that since you're saying thank you, they changed your life for the positive. But thanks for hopping in and saying hello. And I'm happy that we were able to help you in some way. And if you all have thoughts about, what kind of other ways you would like us to change your life, let us know. Param Mishra is asking how to not be anxious before the call-in. I'm literally shaking right now. So this is a great quick segue, okay? And then we're going to get to the TikToks. So since we're in the feels, this is our community event right now. I want y'all to understand something. We're going to probably do a talk about this next week or something. You don't have to avoid negative emotion. So people are like, I am anxious right now. How do I not be anxious? It's okay to be anxious. Right? Like, let's play this tape through to the end. If you're anxious, what is the consequence? If you're anxious, does that mean that you're concerned like, oh, I won't be able to speak clearly? Like, do you need to speak clearly? Let's say you come in and you don't speak clearly at all. What are we going to do about that? Right? We're going to ask questions. We're going to help you formulate your thoughts, and we're going to help you get to speaking clearly. What will people think? Well, what do most people think when someone comes on a call-in show or we do an interview and they're nervous? How does most of the community react to them? Are people like, oh my God, this person is so terrible. Why are they on stream? Why are they calling in? No. People are like, oh, this is me. Like, person is exactly describing how I feel. I feel personally attacked by what this person is saying. Right? So this is the thing. Like, I understand that when our brain feels anxious, we think about these negative consequences. But it's okay to be anxious, and anxiety is not necessarily to be avoided. We don't want it to control you, but it's okay to be anxious. And if you're anxious, you come and you say, hey, I'm anxious, just like they did. And then hopefully it's our job to help you get to a healthier place and talk about what you came to talk about. No anxiety sometimes means no motivation. For me, they're closely linked. Absolutely. Right? So if we think about it, what does anxiety do? It motivates us. But at what cost? So all really, really, really great perspectives and things to dig into. And once we understand what function anxiety deserves, we no longer have to fear it. We can also start to think a little bit about, if we can develop other styles of motivation, then we don't need to rely on anxiety anymore. And if we don't need to rely on it, it'll start to decrease because we're doing it without anxiety. So all really important stuff. Let's hop into TikToks. TikTok. We are going to TikTok, okay? Alrighty. Okay. Let's take a look at some ADHD TikToks on burnout.
Very excited to offer you the opportunity to take on more responsibility here. You mean like a promotion? Like an opportunity?
Oh my God.
I'm very excited to offer you the opportunity to take on more responsibility here. You mean like a promotion? Like an opportunity. Like an unpaid promotion? So you get it. Yeah, okay, cool. I was really hoping we could talk about the role that opened up on the management team. We are gonna fill that role with an external hire who we're gonna offer just like an obscene compensation package. Okay. Honestly though, like an embarrassing amount of money. Right. I can offer you an interview, though, to keep your hopes up so that you'll take on all the roles and responsibilities while we look for a replacement. And then if I do a good job, maybe you will give me the promotion? Absolutely not. I intend to keep you in your current role at your current salary until you burn out and quit. Of course. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So this is great for a number of reasons. So first, let's understand like how accurate this is. So I think this can be very accurate. So in my experience, there are two kinds of companies. Some companies will do this, where they'll sort of figure out that someone is in a particular role and it's more trouble than it's worth to move that person out of a role and then like find a replacement. So let's just think about this. Let's say that there's like a managerial position that opens up at your company and you want to get promoted. So right now they have to fill and train one role, right? Because even if you get promoted, you're going to have new responsibilities. There's going to be an onboarding process. There may be some other dynamics at play. So like, let's say you've got 5 different colleagues and you get promoted and now they're reporting into you. That can create different kinds of trouble. So if they promote you, not only do they have to onboard and do that kind of stuff, but they also have to potentially fill your role that is now vacated. So now they have to onboard 2 people. So there are kind of 2 transitions. So sometimes companies kind of think like this, and they will, they'll kind of do this sort of stuff. The other thing is that sometimes companies do want to give people opportunities to do extra unpaid stuff. And that's one of the ways in which companies give people opportunities to distinguish themselves. And that's where I'd say, like, we've got to be a little bit careful here, because there are two kinds of companies that I've seen. One is like, okay, this is actually an opportunity for you to distinguish yourself. And here's the key thing. If you do a good job at distinguishing yourself, what is the outcome? Because for some places, that actually results in, hey, we really noticed that you went above and beyond. So you're actually like, that's an advantage for promotions, raises, new projects, etc., moving over to this other team. Like, there are actually advantages to going above and beyond. The challenge is that there are some companies that expect people to go above and beyond for no additional stuff, even like longitudinally and over time. And they expect everyone to do extra unpaid stuff, and that's just kind of like how it is. The other thing to keep in mind, which I think we kind of got to say, is that I think a lot of TikToks like this, they resonate with a lot of people, but I think there are other perspectives to consider here. The first is that sometimes if you're, let's just talk about outside hires. So I'm going to just tunnel down into this. So if there's a managerial spot that opens up and you work at a particular company, you may think, okay, like they should promote from within and like I'm a good candidate. So this is where sometimes, like, unfortunately, like promoting from within is not actually the best option. So I'll give you all just a simple example. So I've worked with real estate developers, for example, that have real estate agents that are like really good at sales, and a managerial position opens up. And so people may think like, okay, like, so I should be first in line to be promoted because I do a really, really good job at sales. The challenge, though, is that promoting people within a company actually oftentimes changes their responsibilities. And just because someone did really good at their current job doesn't mean that they'll actually adapt well to the responsibilities of the promotion. So if you're good at sales, like, you may not be as good at managing as you are at sales. And you can look at someone like Michael Scott as a prime example of that, right? That's fictitious, but it's based in reality. There's another really interesting aspect here called the Peter principle, which is sort of tongue-in-cheek. I don't know how data-based it is, but it's this idea that we promote people to the level of their incompetence. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but what that sort of presumes is that most people at companies are not ideally suited for the job that they have. And here's how the Peter principle works. Let's say I'm really great at sales. I excel. I do really fantastic. I distinguish myself. I get promoted to a manager. If I excel at being a manager, what happens? I get promoted to, let's say, VP or C-suite or something like that. But if I do a mediocre job as a manager, what actually happens is I never get promoted and I just kind of stagnate there, which means that what we're selecting for is the people who do really, really good at job A actually get promoted out of it until they start doing mediocre. And once they start doing mediocre, they sort of stay there because they're not able to distinguish themselves, which by definition means that instead of having people who excel at their jobs, we end up with a whole company where everyone is mediocre. So it's a really interesting principle and something to kind of think about when you're sort of considering promotion. One thing that I would highly, highly recommend is that if you're interested in getting internally promoted, you really think a little bit about how that job's skill sets may be different from your own, and make a strong case not on the work that you've done, but why you would be a good fit for that position. And so that's it. It's a good take, though. I think sometimes, unfortunately, this is absolutely the case where they'll just sort of give you a pro forma interview to kind of like keep you there. I have absolutely seen predatory companies like that.
Only one cup. I don't know why it came out like that. What's up? Quiet quitting? I have heard. Yeah. Basically the idea that people are burnt out, so they're not actually quitting their jobs, but they're quitting going above and beyond, so they're not letting their job take over their life. What do I think? I don't love the quiet part, but I get it. What employee is going to tell their boss, I'm too stressed, I need help finding balance? Not enough. So they either stay stressed, or they actually quit, or they take steps to decide to do it themselves and quiet quit. Do I think our people are? I don't know, but a good way would be to bring it up. Take out the quiet part. I bet a ton of executives are having this same conversation, but not raising it to employees. What if you were to ask employees, what do you think about quiet quitting? Many might be shocked that you're bringing it up at all. But managers have to be open to finding ways to have conversations about productivity, having their own lives. I'm happy to write out what they can say. This is not a wing it topic. Hey, Luke.
So that's actually really fantastic. I love this person's take on it because they're talking about actually engaging in conversation. So here's the problem that we've created with the term quiet quitting. So do employers want their employees to quiet quit? Right? Like, if you think about it, that sounds like a fireable offense. And so even with the phrase quiet quitting, what you've done is make it hard to actually engage in a conversation. Because it's like, hey, like, who here is quiet quitting? Like, what employee is going to raise their hand when they're like, yeah, I'm quiet quitting? And what does quiet quitting mean? It just means not going above and beyond. It means just doing your job, which, by the way, is also really bizarre because why on earth are we calling doing your job quitting? Since when did doing your actual job become quitting? Like, what the hell is going on here? This whole phrase is like so problematic. And we've started to call, okay, yeah, these guys are quitters. What do you mean quitters? How are they quitting? Well, they're just doing their job. It's like, what the hell? That's not quitting. That's doing your job. The whole phrase is so misdirected, misunderstood, and I don't know how to say this. It's damning. So you can't have a conversation about it, which is what I think this person is kind of alluding to, is that people need to learn how to have conversations about it. The other thing to consider about quiet quitting is, why are people quiet quitting? This is important. I don't think it's always because of burnout. So burnout is on the rise and people not going above and beyond is on the rise. Does that mean that the two are related? They can be. But here's the biggest reason that I see for quiet quitting. So when you go above and beyond, what do you get in return? If you don't get promoted, if you don't get a raise, if you don't get recognition, why would you continue going above and beyond? It's not burnout, it's just Pavlovian. So when someone puts in extra effort, if that effort is recognized, that's ideal, right? And if that effort isn't recognized, then people are going to stop doing it, right? Now, there's an interesting thing that we found in coaching, which is that there can be a cognitive bias at play here where everyone thinks they're doing extra, whereas sometimes what they're sort of doing is like, it's not really extra. It can actually be part of their job. Or they're doing a lot. This is the other thing that we see so often in career coaching, is that people are doing extra that doesn't actually, like, the company doesn't value or people don't really care about. And in that case, I think it's totally fine to not invest that effort. I mean, we'll advocate for people to think about what the company actually cares about and invest extra in a way that the company will appreciate, as opposed to just investing extra. But I think this is like a really, really important point to kind of think about. And I think the whole phrase is so damning that it's very hard to talk about. And like, I don't know when doing your job, how we started calling doing your job quitting. It's like, I can see how this phrase has caught on so much because I think there's a group of managers out there who fundamentally believe their employees are lazy. And if you're a manager who fundamentally believes your employee is lazy, having them do their job is quitting in your eyes. And somewhere along the way, what's also happened is that going above and beyond has become the standard, right? Where it's like, oh, everyone, like, we want go-getters. We want people to go above and beyond. I think going above and beyond, honestly, I think it's great. Like, I got to be honest with y'all. So when I was in med school, I tried to go above and beyond. When I was in residency, I tried to go above and beyond. Here at HG, I tried to go above and beyond. I still try to go above and beyond. I think it's good. It's just you need to have a relationship where people recognize that and you go above and beyond in a way that is understood and hopefully appreciated. Okay. I think the next one may be loud.
Wrote the other 51. How do you write like you're running out of time? Write day and night like you're running out of time. Every day you fight like you're running out of time. Like you're running out of time. Are you running out of time? How do you write like tomorrow won't arrive? How do you write like you need it to survive? How do you write every second you're alive? Every second you're alive. Every second you're alive.
Okay, so here's what I like about TikTok and here's what I dislike about TikTok. So I think this is platform specific, so I don't blame any of the creators. This is just a trend that I've seen. So TikTok is short, so there's very little nuance. So what I like about this is that there's a lot of stuff here that's scientifically valid in terms of burnout. So for example, this part right here.
Hamilton wrote, the other 51.
So signs you're in burnout,
How do you
irritability,
write like you're running out of time? Writing
struggling to process what people are saying. So this makes a lot of sense. So the first thing that goes when we're burnt out is empathy and like the ability to be emotionally available to other people. So this can result in irritability, short temper, like, you know, having frustration with your colleagues, having frustration with people at home. So frustration, irritability are actually the first number one sign of burnout. It's not actually lack of energy and stuff like that. So this person also mentions things like lack of energy. But this is where I get a little bit concerned kind of like as a clinician, because there's a lot of stuff here that I think is not necessarily tied to burnout. So racing thoughts and impending doom are not like what I think of as burnout. So if you look at, for example, like Maslach's burnout inventory, which is kind of the first instrument around burnout, it doesn't really talk, it doesn't really talk about racing thoughts or senses of impending doom. And this is what I think the issue with TikTok is if someone watches this and they're like, oh, I check all these boxes, I must be burnt out. There's a differential diagnosis here. There's like other things that could be, you know, going on here, like an anxiety disorder. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who has all these things has an anxiety disorder. My point is that if you're in this situation and you resonate with everything that this person is saying, some of it is consistent with burnout, but some of it could be like anxiety related. Some of it could be like ADHD related. And so that's the basic issue I have with TikTok, is that people will sort of share a constellation of stuff, which I think is coming from the right place, because burnout can cause people to space out and have difficulty with focus and stuff. Like that's all possible, but it's not like, it's kind of like WebMD where it's like, oh, I check all these boxes, so I must have metastatic cancer. No, chances are you've just got the flu. You know, there's a differential here. So just be a little bit careful about that.
3 signs your cortisol levels are high, part 2. Hi, my name is Christine Cohen. I'm a mental health dietitian who helps stress professionals overcome burnout naturally in their 30s. The first one is any level of anxiety. So that is chronic anxiety that
Any level of anxiety is a sign of high cortisol?
you experience on the mild level all the way up to anxiety and panic attacks. Second is finding yourself feeling really frustrated, really irritated often, all the way up to exploding rage. This is a sign that your cortisol levels are high. And the third is intense cravings for carbs, sugar, salty, and even alcohol throughout the day, but definitely later in the day and after dinner. If you experience these symptoms often, it's a sign that you're living in fight or flight mode and your cortisol levels are imbalanced. To learn more about why this is happening and how to naturally balance yourself back out, go download my free guide and learn more.
So I'm not sure. So this person is a dietitian, so they may know more about this than I do. But some stuff about this like makes me kind of concerned. So the first is that I'm not quite sure if they're talking about cortisol or they're talking about burnout, or if they assume that the two are automatically linked. So I know this sounds kind of weird, and this person may know more about this than I do. But like, I'm not sure that hypercortisol and burnout are actually like correlated. It makes sense that they are, because burnout is sort of a high stress state. You have a high level of cortisol. And there's a lot of stuff here that I think is scientifically like, it sounds like they really know what they're talking about in terms of craving of carbohydrates and stuff. That can be consistent with cortisol. But when they say any level of anxiety, that kind of confuses me, because I think like anxiety, like mild anxiety and feeling anxiety is not a sign of hypercholesterolemia or Addison's disease. And I mean, it can be, right? So like anxiety is one of the manifestations of high cortisol. But this is, once again, I think this isn't so much about this person as it is about TikTok, which is like, I think some degree of anxiety is within the normal range of human experience. And so I'm just not sure when I watch stuff like this. I don't know if this person, if this is, I'd like to think that this is a restriction of the platform, because in 56 seconds, how can you accurately explain cortisol, burnout, anxiety, and help people understand what's going on? Could it be a high cortisol level? Sure. Could it be a burnout level? Burnout? Sure. But some of this stuff, this is what kind of makes me a little bit hesitant about this kind of stuff, is I don't know what exactly this person is referring to. I don't really know how scientific it is, but it does seem like they do this kind of work. And so they've had a lot of like good outcomes with their clients, is what I'm assuming. And by the way, that can be completely valid too, because oftentimes what you see is that before you have scientific evidence of an intervention, you'll have people out there working with human beings who will develop a high level of confidence in the intervention that happens before scientific validation. A great example of that is meditation. So why do we have research studies on meditation? It's because a bunch of people like in the 60s learned how to meditate, and they're like, wow, this is actually amazing and will help with anxiety and depression. And at that point, scientists would have said, you're full of BS. And so then what happened is they actually made studies about it. So it's not uncommon for people who are in a clinical role, or this person seems like a dietitian, to actually make discoveries about what helps people prior to scientific evidence. So something to just keep in mind. So I'd say just take it with a grain of salt. Sounds like their heart is in the right place. They may know more about it than I do, but I'm a little bit skeptical of some of the generalizations that they make.
I think one of the saddest parts of working with people who are experiencing burnout is that when you ask them like what they want, like I asked them what they wish they were including, it is such reasonable things. It's like, I want to have time to eat breakfast and lunch. I want to get off of work before 6 p.m. I want to have time on the weekends without feeling guilt for not catching up on work. I want to spend time with friends and family. I don't want to have trouble sleeping because I have so much anxiety. Like, very reasonable human things. Burnout is not just stress in the workplace, it's what that stress in the workplace costs you. It's just very unfair because burnout is like the meeting point of industry and industry's bottom line, and just people trying to do their best, especially like high achievers and people pleasers who want to make those companies happy, not realizing that no amount of work from them would be enough.
So this is really interesting. So I think it highlights something, and I'm curious kind of what y'all think about this, but if burnout is the intersection of people pleasers and companies, where do you think the fault lies? Right? Like, let's just think about that for a second. And let's take a quick look at the next one. This one, I think we're going to go.
Watch TV, but it's not productive. Video games are not productive. I wanna get sleep, but it's not productive. I still have an ain't gonna be productive. Gotta be productive. 'Cause in reality it's not productive. We have all the things, gotta be productive.
So I think this really highlights kind of a good point. So when I'm asking like, okay, who's at fault here? Some people are saying mostly companies. And some people are saying both. Here's our experience with burnout, and there's science to kind of back this up. So I think the biggest problem with burnout that's going on right now is that companies are blaming employees, and they're saying, oh, burnout is something that you need to handle. So we're going to give you a free subscription to a mindfulness app so that you can meditate and be less burnt out. And employees are blaming companies, and they're saying your work environment is so stressful, like you're the reason that I'm burnt out. And my company always asks for more, always asks for more, always asks for more, and I'm a people pleaser. So here's the wild thing that we've discovered, and this is based on science. So the first thing is, let's start with the science. So burnout is the intersection of job plus personal. And if y'all have seen like our interviews, like we did an interview with a developer who's burnt out at the last 4 companies that they've worked at. And what we tend to find is, if someone's a people pleaser, and like, let's say your boss is like really nice boss, and it's like, hey, we've got like something else that's kind of come in the pipeline. There's a possible deal. Anyone interested in kind of taking it on? And then the people pleaser is like, yeah, me. And you're like, okay, cool. You want to take it on? Go for it. And then a week later, the boss is like, hey, we've got something else coming on. Like, anyone interested in taking it on? People pleaser is like, or the boss asks like, hey, do you have bandwidth for an additional project? People pleaser is like, I'm not allowed to say no. I'm afraid of what my boss will think when I say no. So I'm going to say yes, even though they don't have the bandwidth. And so from the boss's perspective, let's assume for a moment that the boss is nice. He or she is a nice boss, and they're actually genuinely asking, hey, are you like at capacity or do you have space for something else? You tell me. If you tell me you're at capacity, it's totally fine. Like, I'm not going to think any less of you. I respect you as an employee. I respect your ability to manage your own work. You're hardworking. You're not a slacker. So I am trusting you to tell me where you are. I'm actually trusting and respecting you. But the people pleaser is like, I never want to say no to anything because that makes me feel bad on the inside. So this is the harsh discovery that we've made when we work with people who are burnt out. And we've worked with a lot of them, is that a lot of it is internal. Half of it is internal, half of it is company. And what we do is we work with people to help them understand, okay, like if you're a people pleaser, the solution is not for, corporations. I mean, I guess that they could be. We've done some consulting in that. It's a corporate, companies to like adapt to some human beings who are people pleasing. The real solution, and I say this as a clinician who's worked with tons of people pleasers, is like if you're people pleasing in your job, you're also people pleasing in your personal relationships. You're also people pleasing like in your, friendships, parental relationships, family relationships, romantic relationships. And so if you're a people pleaser at the cost of yourself because you don't value yourself, like that's something that needs to be changed on you. There are absolutely toxic elements from the corporate world, don't get me wrong, who will take advantage of people pleasers. And I encourage y'all to like watch the interviews and stuff, because what we've really seen is that fixing burnout is addressing some things at the company level, but it's also addressing a lot of things at the individual level. And to be blunt, we see far, far, far better outcomes addressing things at the individual level than we do at addressing things at the company level. Because if we address things at an individual level, if we can take a people pleaser and have them stop being a people pleaser, they're going to do way better, way faster than trying to do a corporate training that gets managers to understand people pleasers. So the unit of change, when we focus on the individual, what we find is that the yield is a lot better, right? So it's like, okay, like let's say that we've got someone who struggles to eat healthy. What we can do is we can absolutely go to a government FDA and we can say, hey, y'all have to change advertising. You need to add this nutrition facts. You need to put warnings on food. You have to do this and this and this to warn people of the dangers. You have to make it hard for people to buy this stuff. We need to increase the taxes on sodas. We need to do all of this worldwide stuff to help people who eat in an unhealthy way. I think all that stuff is fantastic. But if you are someone who struggles to eat healthy, I would encourage you, I don't think you can wait for all that to happen. That the people who end up eating healthy are the ones who make a personal change. Now, does that absolve everyone else of responsibility? No. What I'm talking about is efficacy, not fairness, not responsibility. I think it's unfair. And what are we going to do about it? So you have to work a little bit on your own, right? And so what we try to do is we help people, first of all, understand, okay, are you a people pleaser? And then even like role play, dialogue out, how do you have a conversation with your manager? Because if your manager is actually nice, the cool thing about this is that if your manager is nice, you can actually go to them and say, hey, I have a tendency to like people please. And so here's a sample dialogue that I would encourage, right? So these are the kinds of things that we'll talk people through. So how do you talk to your manager about being a people pleaser? Real quick. So you go to your manager and you say, hey, I really enjoy working for you. I think you're a fantastic person. I like my job here. One of the things that I really struggle with is that anytime someone at this job asks for help, I have difficulty saying no, but I actually think that I get too much on my plate and it stresses me out. I want to help out. I want this company to succeed. I want to look good myself. I want to make you look good. I want the mission of the company. Let's say I work at a hospital, right? So I care about patients. And I want to help out my fellow nurses when something, when there's like a shortfall in nursing. But what I'm noticing is that like, it's hard for me to say no. And I'm getting like really, really stressed out and it's like impacting my work. Can you help me with this? Can you help me set boundaries around a healthy level of work? And it's amazing when you go to you're not saying, hey, I'm lazy. Hey, y'all are taking advantage of me. Y'all are an evil corporation. You're like, hey, this is something that I really struggle with. Will you help me? And what's really awesome is like most managers will be like, absolutely. We'd love to help you. Okay, let's think about this. How can we set limits on how much you actually work? I'm going to talk to the charge nurse about this. Let's try to figure out like what's a good plan. Because most people are like good human beings. The problem is we're never taught how to approach these conversations. And we just are like, oh, like the hospital is predatory. Like it may be true, but I don't think that I mean, sometimes you have a toxic boss, but generally speaking, like people want to help each other out, right? Because your boss may be a people pleaser too. Do you ever think about that? And if you come to them and you say, hey, I'm stressed out, your boss being a people pleaser is like, oh no, let me fix that for you. Right? Because if you're a people pleaser and you go the extra mile, what happens? You get promoted to being the boss. And did the people pleaserness go away? Of course not. Make sense? Okay. Questions? So Trash Can Raider is saying, I think you're overestimating people. Maybe. It hasn't been my experience. So I'm estimating people based on my experience. And what I've learned is that if you think I'm overestimating colleagues or people, what I've really found is that effective communication or ineffective communication will result in how people respond to you. So I can understand why you're like, oh, you're overestimating people, because when I talk to people, it doesn't work like that. So that's where I challenge you a little bit. I'm not saying that you're wrong, right? So my first job was like serving up ice cream, and I've had other like kind of basic labor sort of jobs over the years. So I've done that kind of work, but I'm also now for the last like decade in a position that has a lot of professional respect. So my life is my experience is going to be different. I've worked with a ton of people though. And what I really found is that there's a right way to talk to people. And when you talk to people the right way, then it really helps or improves your chances. But I've absolutely heard my fair share of horror stories and situations where talking to your boss about how you're stressed out and you have this difficulty causes them to like hop on and say, okay, cool, let's take advantage of that. I'm not saying I'm not saying y'all are wrong. I'm just saying you have to be careful about assuming the world is a particular way, and that effort or change or learning something new on your part is not going to change that. It's challenging. Okay. So Real Riker is asking, how do you manage your burnout when you might be expected to work even late to get stuff done? So that's a great question. So what I would say is, where does that expectation come from? Where is the expectation that you have to work late? That's how you challenge it from the beginning. So if you have to work late, why is that? There could be all kinds of reasons that you have to work late. I've had to work late. So some of that is like learning curve. So is it temporary, or is it that you have difficulty with something that most people in your job don't have difficulty with? So for example, I had a colleague who was dyslexic. And so physicians take notes. And so we have to like take notes, and we have to do like documentation. And that maybe for some of us, it would take an hour. For this person, it would take an hour and a half. And so sometimes things are just going to take longer for you. And that, is that where the expectation comes from? Or is the default that, like this is a normal amount of work and people have to work 14 hours a day and that's just accepted? So some industries are like that, like banking. Working late is a part of the job. And how does banking make up for it? They compensate you with hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars per year. And it's just an expectation that like, hey, you're going to work your ass off and we're going to pay you a lot. You're going to burn out. You're going to stress. This is the trade. So it just depends. I would say, where is that expectation of you working late coming from? Prime is asking question, is part of burnout related to lack of community? Yes. So there are 6 scientific factors that contribute to burnout, and I think lack of community or isolation is absolutely one of them. All right, shall we move on to great catching you at TwitchCon, by the way, Prime. But does it have to be that way in the banking industry? I personally don't think so, but people in the banking industry, many people high up in the banking industry disagree with me. And there's something really interesting going on in the banking industry right now, which is that we're seeing a very, very subtle shift to... So the standard in the banking industry is that you work people to the bone and then turnover rates are really, really high. So what happens is like you've got people, you're like, I want you to work 100 hours a week, and a bunch of people are going to try. Some people are going to excel. And when they excel, like you're going to promote them. You're going to give them a lot of money. But then what happens a lot is that person, the grass is going to be greener on the other side. So they're going to go somewhere else because they're your golden child at your bank. So they go to some other bank and they're like, hey, I'm the golden child over here. What will y'all give me? And then the other bank says, okay, we'll give you like 50% more. And golden child comes back to your bank and is like, hey, these people are offering me 50% more. Can y'all match it? And you're like, no, we can't match it. And then the person leaves. So what actually happens in banking is that there's a real retention problem for your best employees. There's also a retention problem for your not best employees because you've got a golden child who you're struggling to keep and maybe you pay them 50% more. And then you've got the other 4 people in their cohort who are not golden children who are getting paid less now, 66% of what the golden child is getting. And so they'll end up leaving too because they don't think it's fair because golden child is working 100 hours a week. They're working 100 hours a week. One person is getting paid 50% more. So they leave. So turnover is a huge, huge problem in banking. Everyone's moving around all the time. What we're starting to see is there's a small crop of people who really care about building a team and care about the humans. And what they've really discovered, which is crazy, is that if someone enjoys working for you, they'll actually turn down 50% more money to stay with you because the toxicity isn't worth the money. And you may be thinking, that's crazy, 50% more money. But at some point, like money has diminishing returns for some people. For some people, it doesn't. And it's just the more, the better. It's a way to keep score in life. So I'm starting to see this change in banking where like some people actually genuinely care. They work less. They don't work people to the bone. You're allowed to have kids whenever you want. It's totally fine. We're going to support you. And that's worth so much. Yeah, so anyway, let's hop into Discord because we've got call-ins. Okay. All right, testing. Nope, I'm alone. Yo, I'm ready to go, so I'm going to move up, okay?
Wrong channel.
He said wrong channel. Okay. Let's get started. I just needed to tell him I'm ready to go.
Hey, ready?
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
So tell me a little bit about what burns you out, my friend.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with myself. So
Sure.
I am Nitin. You can call me Nitin.
Okay.
I'm Indian.
Okay.
I did high school in India, undergrad in US, with a bunch of other stuff in between.
Okay.
And I'm 23.
Okay.
And so what burns me out when I so what burns me out is like when I want to work, when I've given a task or something that involves like long-term effort to be put in, like over a week is what I consider long-term. I am able to do it if it like has a deadline and consequences attached to it, like homework assignment, for example. But if it's something that is either like some sort of project that I want to work on or that I try to work on for my career. I am like I get burnt out like after a few days of work without any like external validation on progress that I've made. And the key part is that the progress has to be tangible and I need to be able to notice that progress as well. But the problem is like if I'm doing a task and I'm able to notice the tangible progress, but without the external validation, I still get burnt out and I'm unable to like I get paralyzed and I'm not able to do any of those tasks following that. If that was clear.
Yeah, so let me see if I understood it, and then you tell me if it was clear. So it sounds like you're able to actually do good work, first of all, if there's a deadline or some kind of external pressure. So in terms of college and school work, like you can actually work pretty effectively. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say effectively because almost every like not almost every deadline I've procrastinated till like the last day, hour, or whatever time it requires and submitted it like at 11:59. But
Okay. So, but
yeah,
do
I'm
you,
able to finish.
you're able to finish, but in a
Yeah,
procrastinating kind of way. And what
yeah,
you're really struggling with is that there are some things, let's say for your personal growth, that
mm-hmm,
don't have a deadline, right? There is no 11:59 p.m. because you're just doing it for you.
mm-hmm,
And you struggle to do those things.
yep,
The exceptions to when you struggle to do them have to do with two things. The first is that if there is a deadline, if there's tangible progress, and even if there's
mm-hmm,
tangible progress, you need external validation to continue doing stuff for yourself.
yep.
Okay. I assume this is frustrating for you.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, is it fine if I start with a few examples?
Sure.
I think that okay. So, one of the things that I've tried to do on multiple occasions, like, so I'm 23 right now, so since I was like 16, 15-ish, I've tried like on multiple occasions to learn the keyboard. Uh, no classes or whatsoever, just by myself. I've watched like probably more than 100 to 200 YouTube videos on learning the keyboard, basics, music theory, whatnot. And I found that like when I first tried it, I was able to stick to it for like a month, and then I stopped. And then a few weeks later, I try again, but then this time I'd be able to do it only for like a few weeks, and then I try again after a few weeks or a month, and then I'd do it for even lesser until the point I just do it for a day, then I stop for like a long time. But in like 2020, I came back to it like after a few years, and I was able to stick to it for a month again. But then the same pattern repeated itself, and until I just not play the keyboard. But the thing is, I've like every time I am actively interested in doing the keyboard, I like do all the YouTubing research, all that. But when it comes to actually practicing or doing anything related to it, I just end up freezing like after that certain period of time I've done it in the recent past.
Okay.
And one positive thing, like in the question, it was like what I've done to deal with it. So I've only succeeded like that's in one aspect, and that was recently. I'm still not sure where it's going, but in like so I finished undergrad in the US and now I'm back in India doing like a boot camp in like data science. It started a month and a half ago. So all new people in a classroom, 9 to 5, Monday to Thursday setting. And I started going to the gym right after my classes. And it's been a month and a half and I'm still consistently going to the gym. And I think the most important part that's keeping me going to the gym is the fact that after I met a few people in class, I told them that I'm going to the gym after class. And then every few days, I would, like, when I was leaving class, I tell them I'm going to the gym, like, to get the, like, external, like, confirmation that they know that I'm going to the gym and that I know I'm going to the gym. And then which ends up making me go to the gym. The
Well,
past week, however, oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
nope. Keep going.
The past week, however, like there was group projects and we only had to come in for a few hours. And, like so this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I only had to come in a few hours on Monday and Tuesday. So before this, there was Dasara holidays. For those who don't know, it's like a week off for like vacation in India. So there was classes during that time. And when I came back, it was straight into this group project. So I just left by myself, came by myself, and there was no like interaction with anybody else. And I physically walk by the gym every day. So I stop at the gym, but I'm paralyzed to go to the gym, and I just end up going home. Like it happened for 3 days, and then Thursday, which is yesterday for me right now, probably, yeah.
Okay.
So I went out with my friends, and then after meeting them, I told them I'm going to the gym now, and then said bye. Then I walked past the gym again, and I actually ended up going to the gym.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Nitin, so I think you're doing okay. I can understand how this is frustrating because what I'm hearing is that as long as someone else knows you're doing something, as long as you almost like make a promise to that person, then you'll live up to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's not really a promise may not be the right word, but once you tell them you're going to the gym, then it's almost like you've made a commitment and you don't want to let that commitment down and you don't want to disappoint them by lying and not going to the gym. Because what if they found out that you didn't go to the gym? Then how would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing,
I just want.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh. So I just wanted to say, like, I feel that like in currently, but in the past, like I've uh had the similar thing with what was it? Similar to thing to the gym, but there wasn't actually like it was on Discord though. Like, it was my high school friends. I was in college in US, and I like post all my workouts on Discord, and I'd say I'm going to work out. But then after like a few months, I like say I'm going to work out, but then I don't work out, and then it just died from there. So I don't
Right.
know how far this is going to go, but like
So
so
there's
far it's
so we're going to talk about sort of like a short-term and long-term approach to this, okay? The first is how do you understand this? Like what do you think is going on inside you that this is like why do you think you function this way? Do you have any sense of that?
I'm stumped, but like from what I can tell, uh from what I can tell, I feel like I burn out or like have all these problems when I don't have enough stimulus. Like I don't know how to put it. Like if I don't have time to myself to think, then I'm fine. But then if I have time for myself to think, then I'm not fine. And uh, whenever it's a long-term task, like in the first part of that task, you're totally into the task and you don't have, and you're not like active. I mean, you're not like you're actively on the task and you don't have like thinking time for yourself, if you know what I mean. But then
I know
the
what you
further
mean.
you go on to that,
That's brilliant.
you're less
So
focused on it, and
let
like you
let
have
me
time for yourself.
let me
I'll go start.
yeah, I'm going to interrupt you on purpose because I don't want to move past this point. So this is brilliant. So when you say stimulus, I'm going to try to reframe that a little bit. So if you are so not really stressed, but as long as your mind doesn't get a chance to start making excuses and make you lazy, you're fine. Does that resonate with you? Like, cause like as long as there's like other stimulus, like, but if you're left to your own devices, your mind is gonna start to say, well, why bother? You're gonna start walking past the gym, like, you know, if a friend was next to you and y'all were walking past the gym and you had told him, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym, and y'all were walking past it together, you say bye and then go into the gym. Because you didn't have time by yourself. But if the 10-minute walk to the gym, you're in your own head, then your mind starts doing stuff and sabotages your effort. It's your motivation starts to decrease, all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, now that you've said that, like it kind of rings true for almost everything. Like,
Yep. So we're going to get into that. So we can't give your mind time to think, right? We can't give your mind a chance to procrastinate and start to make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
So in this situation, is your mind your friend or your enemy?
Enemy?
Absolutely. So what are the things that you use to defeat your enemy, that is the mind? You create an external accountability with other people. Because if you tell people, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, then if you don't go to the gym, you're going to feel guilty, ashamed, disappointed. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does your mind like to feel guilty, shamed, or disappointed?
No.
Have you been made or have you felt that way in the past?
I have.
Tell me about that.
So, like I was saying, like the gym part, like when I was like few years ago, when I was working on myself, I went to the gym for a month, and then I'd say I'm going to the gym, but then I wouldn't go to the gym, and then I feel guilty for that, and then I'd go back to the gym for a few days, and then after a point in time in that time, I felt guilty too many times, and I just got desensitized to that, and I just stopped doing it. So I
Let's
don't know how far this guilt takes me in the like
let's
in
go earlier than
making.
the gym. Nitin,
Okay.
you're Indian, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any like have you been made to feel guilty, or did you feel guilty even before a couple of years ago? Like, can you remember the first time, like when you feel disappointed in yourself when you don't
Yep.
go to the gym and you tell yourself you're going to go?
Yep.
Like, I'll tell you kind of what I mean. So you can go to the gym if you don't tell someone. I mean, sorry, you
Yep.
can go to the gym if you tell someone. If you tell your friend, hey, I'm going to go to the gym today, you know that you're going to go. You can have confidence in yourself. But then there's a small part of you that's like, I wish I wasn't this way. Why do I have to rely on telling someone else that I'm going to go to the gym to like go to the gym? And there's like a tiny little part of you that feels like almost ashamed or disappointed with yourself that you have to go through this to go to the gym. You just can't go to the gym for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember like that feeling? Do you remember if you felt that, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago? Like, do you remember a time where you really started to feel like kind of like really disappointed in yourself, or people made you feel really disappointed in yourself?
Um. So the so I feel like until like the 10th grade, which is like I think sophomore year high school for all you guys in America, um, I was like I didn't have time to think. Like I just didn't have time to. Like I was having fun in school. I was having fun once I'm at home, and I just don't remember having the time to think. Like in like the last 2 years, 11th and 12th, there was a situation where we were in a robotics competition, and the first year went fine. The second year, like all my friends decided to form a robotics team without me, and then that was I felt like I did something wrong, and I was like it was definitely my fault, and I felt like really guilty for like whatever they why they I felt guilty like for them. I don't know how to say it. Like I felt guilty for like the fact that whatever I did to make them not put me in the team, but then that ended up fine. But then that ended up fine afterwards. Yeah, that was the first thing I can remember
Okay.
feeling guilt.
Yeah, so I that feels important to me, but feels a little bit off base. So I would encourage you
Yeah.
to continue thinking about that. But
Okay.
let me ask you one other question. Why do you want to learn piano or keyboard?
So I really want to be able to be good at the piano.
Why?
I feel I just want to like
Why?
um um
Who?
because
How
I
would you
feel like I
be?
don't have any
You go ahead.
because I feel like I don't have any skills.
Okay. And what does it feel
And
like to not have any skills?
feels awful.
Who are you until you learn the keyboard? Let me ask you actually a different question. Who will you be? Tell me about the person you'll be when you start exercising every day and you learn the keyboard. Tell me about that person.
Okay. That person would be either equal to or better than all my peers.
And what
Or
would
equal to.
tell me about that person?
That person, like, do you want, like, I don't understand the question.
Like I think, okay, I understand you don't understand the question. I suspect you have an answer though. So let me try to ask it in a different way. Maybe it's a dumb, not dumb, but bad question. I think that your mind thinks about and imagines what it is like once you start exercising regularly and like you have a vision of yourself, right? And you think to yourself like, oh, like it's going to be so awesome when I'm a badass at the piano and I'm ripped.
It definitely thinks that.
Tell me about, like, when you think about that person you could be, how do you feel about yourself?
So if I'm actively learning the piano and going to the gym, then I feel great. If I'm not actively going to the gym,
I'm not talking about when you're going. I'm talking about you've thought about what it's like if you every week for the next 3 years, if you go to the gym and you play piano the way that you want to. Tell me about that person.
That person would be confident, would be ripped, hopefully.
Yep.
And then would have the confidence to say, I am doing this, I am doing that.
Absolutely.
With my life. I am.
Nitin, are you smiling right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Can y'all hear him smiling? What are you feeling when I ask you that?
Embarrassment.
Okay.
And like joy.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And so embarrassment because we're like not letting you hide, but joy because like that's what you want to be. You want to be joyful. You want to be amazing. You want to have skills. And what does it feel like to not be that person?
Hard question. It feels like I don't fit anywhere. Like I'm not worthy of fitting anywhere. Like,
yeah, right? And so you'd fit better if you could do more stuff. Right? Like people would respect you if you could play the piano. People would respect you if you were in shape. I don't know what your sexuality is or what your romantic status is, but maybe people that you're attracted to would give you attention. Your friends would be impressed. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could hold your head up high, like you could be confident in who you are instead of being who you are right now.
Yeah.
Make sense? So let's try to understand what's going on here, okay? I'm going to do my best to share some thoughts. You let me know if it kind of works for you or not. Okay. So the first thing is that the mind is the enemy. We've figured that out, right? Because when left to its own devices, the mind will prevent you from doing your goals. And we'll get to why that is in a second, right? So remember, if you're left to your own devices, if you're given time to think, then you're not going to go to the gym. You'll stop playing piano. But in order for you to achieve your goals, and let's like dig into that, in order for you to achieve your goals, you can't give yourself time to think. And furthermore, guilt is a very strong motivator for you. So here's what I think is going on with you. You don't like who you are. And you've decided that you're going to change. And you can't continue being who you are. You can't be Nitin. You need to be ripped piano playing Nitin. Can't be this Nitin. It's not good enough. Can't be the, hey, I didn't get invited to the robotics team Nitin. We're done being that loser. We're going to be Chad Nitin. Right?
Yep.
So the other thing is you want this thing because you're tired of being who you are. And so you're a smart guy. So you've figured out the best way that you can to become something else, which is that your mind is going to get in the way, right? Because you have loser Nitin's mind can't motivate itself. Loser Nitin's mind is your enemy. So what we're going to do is we're going to trick it. We're going to outmaneuver it. We're going to defeat it. And what works really well? Guilt. So you create situations for yourself where you've realized, I hate feeling guilty. In your robotics class, when you didn't get picked, you felt so guilty. You're like, never again. Nitin, did you tell yourself never again?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now you've got a gift. You have a key. You have an answer. Never again. So how can you create situations where the idea of never again will motivate you? You create artificial guilt. You tell people, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. You create a stimulus for yourself. And you never want to feel that guilt again. So as long as that guilt is like possible, then you'll avoid it at all costs. That's the way that you manipulate your mind. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're using guilt as a tool to get your mind to do what it needs to do. Right? It's like your mind is like a horse and the guilt is the whip. And you're telling it, you better move. And the thing is, every time you tell someone I'm going to go to the gym, that's you picking up the whip. You're creating the whip. You're creating the motivation. Do you see that? Because when you don't talk to them, and even then, like when they don't validate you, you're like, then the whip doesn't work anymore, and then the horse stops moving. So you're creating like this sabotaging cycle, but it's not really sabotaging. It's also effective. Because this is the only way you've known how to motivate yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So now what do we do about this? I know it sounds kind of weird, but I don't think you have to abandon that strategy quite yet. Is it unhealthy for you in the long term? Absolutely. But I think if you need to, the goal here is for you to get to the gym and achieve some of your goals. Okay? So if telling people is what gets you to the gym, every week that you get to the gym, whether it's through guilt and whipping yourself or through like a love for your body or whatever it is, doesn't matter. Every day that you go to the gym is a win. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So if you've got to do that, by all means do that. The long-term strategy, though, is for you to like think a little bit about where these goals come from. And for you to realize that you don't like who you are and you believe that doing some external action is going to give you confidence in yourself. That's never going to happen. So people who are like, I'm not proud of myself, let me go make money. Then I will be proud of myself. I'm not proud of myself, I feel ashamed of myself, let me go get beautiful. Right? Let me go get cosmetic surgery. Let me go get a boob job. Let me go get this kind of thing and that kind of thing and let me drive a fancy car. And then I will feel better about myself because the world will love me. Why do you need the world to love you? Because you don't love yourself. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think all of your goals are coming out of a non-genuine place. They're not coming out of inspiration. They're not coming out of like love and devotion. They're coming out of a hatred of being where you are. What do you think about that?
So, as you said, I think that's true, right? You're right in the fact that all my motivation or whatever it is that I'm doing coming from hate for myself, because I don't like who I am right now, and I feel like what you said about like guilt being a temporary strategy. I feel like as of right now, like I don't know how it'll be in the future, but as of right now, what my mind is telling me is that that'll be your only strategy until you get to that chat with him. Like until then, like there's nothing that, because I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying don't abandon the strategy because I don't think that you can get rid of it quite yet. But there is a different strategy. And that starts with, and I don't know that we can do all of this today, but what I would encourage you is start to think a little bit, Nitin, about when you stopped being proud of yourself. And instead of
Right
setting...
after my, sorry,
Yeah.
right after my gifted child, which was high school.
Right? So not
Yeah.
surprising. And then the other thing is, right now, the problem is that all of your goals are not going to actually give you confidence. Does that make sense? Because you're trying to impress other people. But the more that you impress other people, like, that doesn't make you confident. It just impresses other people. And sometimes you get into the trap of impressing more and impressing more and impressing more and impressing more, and you can never make the whole world happy. You can never make everyone love you. So what I want you to do is think long and hard about what's a single thing that you can be proud of for yourself. Just think about it. And I want you to try to do that thing. It's not about doing it for a month or a year or a week. What is just something that you can say, like, this is not for other people. This is not to feel better about myself. This is something that I want to do for me. And I'm the one who matters.
I kind of like already have that thing.
What
but,
is it?
like, it hasn't helped me in like anything else. So I really like helping other people achieve their goals. It's like, I don't know if it's sabotaging myself, but I really enjoy, like thoroughly enjoy. Like I haven't gotten tired of it, but helping other people with their goals.
Okay, so I want you to do, it's fine to do that, but I want you to really pay attention to yourself. Okay? And here's the main question you've got to ask. I want you to go and help someone, and then look in yourself and try to figure out, do I feel good because of the way that they thank me? Or do I feel good because I made the world a better place?
I feel good because they're in a better place than they were the day before. But then I feel bad because I'm still shit. Like I don't feel envious or jealous of them, but I feel honestly, I feel good about myself that I did something. I feel good that they're in a better place than they were the day before if I succeeded in helping them.
Okay.
But I still feel like shit at the end of the day. As far as
Is that okay?
Yeah, I felt like it's fine.
Okay. So if I gave you two options, Nitin. Option one is that you become the Nitin of your dreams. Handsome, eligible bachelor, ripped, plays the keyboard, data scientist boot camp, works for a famous company.
You're making me smile.
Right? Works for a company where your parents can brag to all their social circle about their son Nitin, who works at Google Me. Right? And then you've got another Nitin who every day for the rest of his life makes one person's life better. Works at a mediocre company, makes decent job, makes decent money, but nothing to brag about. When you know, anytime your family gets together, they always talk about your cousins and other people who are doing amazing things. And then when they ask your parents, how's Nitin doing? Nitin's parents say, oh, he's okay. But you get to help one human being every single day. Which one do you pick?
That's a hard question. But if I have to be honest with myself, I'd pick Chad Nitin if on the condition that I am happy after becoming Chad Nitin. If it's ambiguous, I'd still pick Chad Nitin. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, good. So I think you need to be honest with yourself, right? So right now what I'm hearing is that you value that, which is totally fine. So I think you should, by all means, become Chad Nitin. But I want you to just play around with this stuff, really pay attention to yourself for helping people. And I think that the one thing I'll give you kind of like one last kind of pointer, which is when you help people and you're still nothing at the end of that, can you be okay with that? right? Can you like kind of acknowledge for a moment that, okay, maybe I'm not a better person, but like that's okay. I've made the world a better place. Can you accept
Yes.
yourself?
Yes.
So just keep playing around with it. I think you're actually going to be okay. Like you've just got to work on this internal stuff. You've got to work on why. Because the thing is, the reason that you're not confident in yourself is because you're not confident in yourself. Right? So like this is the last kind of paradox, is that the way that you get confident in yourself is by accepting yourself for who you are, even if that's not Chad Nitin. Then you'll really be confident, because even Chad Nitin strives for something else, strives for something else, strives for something. I'm not good enough, right? That's the road of Chad Nitin. But if you really want to be confident in yourself, you have to be able to say, I helped another human being. My life is still a mess, but you know what? I can take some pride that the world is a slightly better place, and I'm going to go to sleep peacefully tonight. And tomorrow I'm going to work on me. And once you're able to do that, you'll develop confidence. And you must forsake the path of the Chad to become the Chad.
Kind of see what like this entails. It's gonna be hard.
It is going to be hard. You know, and the problem is that you always take the easy road. You just pull out the guilt whip and smack yourself to make progress. That's easy. Does it hurt? Absolutely. But don't tell me it isn't easy, Nitin. It's so easy to go to the gym when you brag to everyone that you're going to go. When you show them, oh, you fuckers, y'all don't actually exercise. I'm going to go to the gym today. And I'm going to let you know. So I agree it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard.
I think that also is like a little problem, because I don't feel comfortable like telling everybody, like bragging, like I'm doing this, I'm doing, like the gym is one thing, but then everything, I need to find people to.
Yeah, because you can't be arrogant. Then they're not going to be impressed with you.
Yeah.
You gotta make them impressed with you without making it seem like you want to impress them. I'm with you.
Something to figure out by myself, I guess.
Well, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You know, we're around. I don't know that I'm going to have a whole lot more time, but there are a lot of people in this community who are here to help you. And I think you're on a good journey, my friend. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too, and thank you for doing all this. Thank you for the community for being there. Like, you helped me with the problems, and you all are awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we got to be super careful about. See, we think about negative emotions as bad things because they're so powerful, right? Fear and anxiety are so crippling. I can't even leave the house because I'm anxious. But we don't realize is we frequently will manipulate ourselves into harnessing negative emotions for our benefit. Right? So we'll tell people, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym because if I don't go, then I'll feel guilty. So we've figured out how to trick ourselves into doing what we want to do, harnessing negative emotions. And it works. So I'm not saying don't abandon it. What I'm saying is that it's not a good long-term solution. Because then ultimately what you're going to end up doing is it's like your productivity is tied to suffering. And that's unhealthy. Is it going to lead to success? Sure. But it's unhealthy. And the key thing is that there's another way. But we never explore that way because this one is so good. Why does everyone procrastinate? It's not because procrastination is a problem. It's because it's a solution. Anyway, let's move on. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
What do you go by?
My name is Param.
Okay. Let me just make sure. I'm going to move this out. I just want to make double and triple check let me do this. That I don't leak your face, but it helps me to be able to see it.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm just turning on the video camera because otherwise, I don't think I'm that much emotive in my voice, but I'm very like expressive.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm very nervous.
Okay. Tell me what are you nervous about?
I'm not nervous at the moment, but I was nervous before coming in the call.
Okay.
Um,
And what do you
I
go
didn't
by?
even like chat. I type in the chat early on. I was like, oh, I'm nervous.
Yeah, I was talking to you
Uh,
earlier, right?
yeah.
Yeah. What do you go by?
Param Mishra.
Perm.
Yeah, just call me Param.
Okay.
So where do I start from? Okay, let's
You're,
talk about burnout because
yeah.
that's the thing. Um, Basically, to really sum things up, I have been dealing with this burnt out state for the past 6, 7 years, and I just feel like I'm stuck in a quagmire and I can't quite get out of it.
Sounds rough, man.
I'm just stuck in it. It is. Um, yeah, it's just kind of depressing, but also at the same time, it's very fearful to get out of the quagmire just to fall into another one. The very same thing. It's just like I'm blinded, I'm blindfolded, and I'm just stepping out of this place. I'm like, I don't know. There's a 50% chance I might get into another same situation again, where I'm burnt out for years on end with nothing to add to my name.
Can you help me understand how you feel or how you felt burnt out for years?
Okay, so a bit of a long story,
Okay.
but this started out when I was, let's just say, 13. Um, I was a gifted kid, so, you know, usual things like, oh, if you just do your best, you can do these things and all that crap. Good shit. But I was very much interested in learning new stuff, anything logical. I just love learning, like studying physics, chemistry, even learning languages because I just loved learning stuff. So what I started doing was, as a hobby, I started writing a blog and I started writing novels as a 13-year-old kid on the internet. I was like, sure, why not? Let's try these things.
One of
And
us.
slowly I started getting a lot of people following my stuff. That was cool. I was like, oh, I can have people read my stuff. That's very amazing. Eventually, I realized, oh, you can make money from this. And at the time, my family was kind of dealing with financial instability because my dad had resigned. So I was like, okay, maybe I can help my parents. Started doing it as sort of work, but not really work. The problem happened around the time when I was 16. My business blog had pretty much like expanded a lot. I had to hire new people, and I loved doing admin stuff. And I was also writing novels, but that didn't really work out anywhere because I was stuck not knowing if I'm making progress or if I'm not making progress in that aspect of the work. The problem was I have ADHD, and my ADHD slowly got very bad. It's diagnosed, by the way. So it got so bad that I was having problems even holding conversations, and I was having problems sticking to deadlines. Very, very severe problems. I would delay deadlines maybe 10 to 20 times, and then maybe I'll get things done. And to backtrack a little bit, I am a person who really loves making promises. If I make a promise, it's very sacred to me. I don't want to renege on it. The problem happens that my ADHD leads me to procrastination in all sorts of different ways. And when time comes to it, I'm like, oh, the deadline's here. I'm like, who cares? And that's sort of the main problem that I had as my ADHD grew worse. It got, who cares times 10. Let me just take a look at my notes because I'm kind of going all over the place. Oh yeah. At the same time, I was trying to become my ideal self, like a better creator, a better leader for my team, and a better son and a student at the same time. And the thing it was, I was having a very hard trouble. I was just having troubles leading a healthy work life and study balance at the time. As I was a kid, I didn't know any better, so I decided to drop out of school because school just wasn't that big of a priority to me. Because in my head, I made an excuse like, I'm going to school to make money. I'm already making money. Why the hell should I go to school? Cool, let's drop out of school. And so the thing is, as my business grew, as I got more and more money, I wasn't receiving any money. My mental health was tanking. I had insomnia. I was coping with a lot of anime and a lot of like YouTube videos. So I was barely surviving somehow. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just take that money to go see a psychiatrist. My parents didn't really like the idea because I come from Indian society, not really a big thing, mental health, you know.
Oh, I know.
And yeah, I mean, it's different now. Now they're very progressive, but back then
Really?
it was like, yeah, back then they were like, no, you're my child, nothing wrong with you, beta. I was like, yeah, sure. I sure? I'm not sure. And what was that? Uh, yeah, so as I was trying to get to my ideal self, I thought, because I've learned since I was like 4 years old, if you just try your best, you can become that. As a gift to kid, I'm like, oh, maybe if I just try my best, I can get things done on deadlines. Maybe I can be a better leader. Maybe I can even be a better son and not have so many tiffs with my parents. I was like, okay, let's try. The biggest problem, however, is I don't have that much empathy towards me or other people. Like when I'm just being myself, I have trouble having emotions in the first place. But when I'm impersonating someone, my ideal self, I'm impersonating as that someone else. I can very much be in tune with the emotions of other people and myself.
Hmm.
And it's like I was trying my best to be the ideal self at some point just to feel I was happy, just to feel like I was getting somewhere. Because if I was not, I was a lot more matter of fact guy. I was like, oh, I didn't get it done on deadlines. Cool, let's try your best. I wasn't really feeling any shame, anything. But the moment I felt even closer to that ideal self, whatever that may be, I was like, why the hell did I not do my best? So it's like on and off switch of my emotions. And that really led me down a path where I slowly started to get so bad on just admin stuff and everything else. I started self-sabotaging my entire thing and it crashed in like, I'd say 2015, 16. And ever since then, I just kind of feel like I don't want to work again for the longest time until I'd say recently, last year when I found your channel, I was like, okay, maybe I can start working on myself and maybe I can, start getting things done because I don't like to be in this place and I still like to learn things and I need money to just be financially stable and independent. The problem is I'm too scared either. I'm too scared or I tried to learn something and then I had this intrusive thought just coming into my head very abruptly. What if you can make money out of this? And I'm like, oh, I just lose all interest. I'm like, nope, not gonna do it. I'm gonna get fucked. Or I just completely lose interest because I don't know why. And it's a struggle because I still like those things. I still want to do them because I started them because I liked them. But at this point, I'm just not getting around to doing them because either I'm scared or two, I just don't get around to doing them.
What are you scared of, Varun?
I'm scared of, like I said, like falling into the same pattern of trying again, trying my best, and then failing in such a way it's just abysmal.
Okay.
And sometimes I have this suffocating feeling this in my chest anytime I start to do something, even if I know, okay, I might make some money out of this, and I just cannot handle that feeling. I have this physical suffocation. I hyperventilate if I start doing those things.
Help me understand that a little bit. So when you think about when the thought crosses your mind that this could be monetized, what it sounds like it terrifies you, you rebel against it in some way. Do you have any sense of what's going on there?
I also have diagnosed ODD, so I don't know if that makes any sense.
Okay.
But
do you want to explain to us what ODD is?
I'm kind of iffy on the full form of ODD.
Sure. So it stands
but
for
basically
oppositional
it's
defiant disorder, but why don't you explain what
yeah,
you understand about it?
basically what I understand about it is I've always been defiant against authoritative people, people who have authority over me, like my parents, my teachers, anyone and all the time. Now, there's a bit of a nuance, like if they are very gentle in the way they nudge me to do something, I might get around to doing it. But that's a very fine line, and for the most part, I will die on my own hill than do the thing that they're asking me to do. And I would annoy the crap out of them to just not do the thing that they want me to do.
Do you feel like the ODD is active right now in this conversation? Can you feel it?
No.
Okay.
Like, I'm being myself, so I'm not really that in tune with my emotions. It's definitely gone better now, but thanks to other people, I'm not going to name any names, but yeah, I'm definitely not as in tune with my emotions when I'm just being myself.
Okay. So, Param, I thought that was fantastic. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Mm, oh yeah. Recently, the reason I start thinking, okay, maybe I want to work is because my childhood friends and my peers and my cousins are all getting jobs, and I'm like, why am I stuck in this place?
Okay. Do you want to
I'm not
work?
com I'm not comparing. I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm just being like,
Yeah, I get that.
why are they getting to walk on the leveled pavement and I'm being stuck in this quicksand?
Yeah. Do you want to work?
Yeah, I want to work because I want money because I want to be financially independent. And I
Why do you
want to do that
Why do you want to be financially independent?
because to this day, I don't have a good relation with my parents. I love them, but at the same time, I hate them. I just have too many, let's say, spats over meaningless things, and we don't see eye to eye on various topics. And I'd rather be alone and be happier than be with them. Despite the fact that they're giving me a shelter over my head, I'd just rather be alone.
Okay. I'm seeing that financial independence is really about freedom from having to deal with your parents.
Yeah. And then extra stuff, but that's probably the crux of it.
Can I think for a second, Param?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about yourself?
Hmm. Okay, I've thought about this a lot, and this is not necessarily related to burnout. It's a lot of other things. Uh, I feel pretty good about myself. I do not used to feel that way, though. I used to have a lot of suicidal ideations back in the days, especially during the time I was going through the collapse of everything. But now I'm like, I've accepted the fact that I'm in the place that I am.
Sure, I
I
get
just
this.
need to move on.
Yeah, and it sounds like what keeps you from moving on is fear of failing.
yeah, it's either fear or just complete disinterest in the thing.
Help me understand that.
Now, like I said before, if I start something, I would either stop because I fear that I'll fall into the same trap, or I just just lose motivation and interest to do that thing. And it's not because of fear, but just happens.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure why it happens.
Okay.
At least not as of now.
Okay. So I'm going to think for a second, okay? Let me just... Yeah, help me understand why it's important to you to keep your promises.
That's a very good question.
Where
Can
is
I
that?
think for a second?
Of course.
Okay, I think I know the answer. It's just going to take a little bit longer to explain.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not really that good at, how do I say, stating my anything that I state from my mouth. It's probably to myself the second best option of communication.
Well,
Because
I don't follow you there.
yeah, I know. The first best option that I used to have as a kid was going out and fighting. That was my main form of communication until, well, eventually everyone was like, oh, don't fight. It's bad for you. You're going to get punished. And I so lost all sorts of like communication with other people, and I lost how to form connections with other people. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be alone. I need to learn how to speak. And that's why I learned I learned the fact that everything that I speak has to be important. And if I make promises which everyone tells, oh, those are important things, you always follow up on them. That's why I think it's sacred to me that if I make a promise, if I state a time, I have to get things done by that time. I have to do that promise, or it's just sacrilegious. It feels like sacrilegious.
Sacrilegious. So here's the question. Is it sacrilegious because... So it's not about expectations of other people and disappointing other people. I'm not hearing that. What I'm hearing is it's like it's an internal standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Barham, what's it? So let me just kind of recap what I've heard so far, okay? I think we're going to learn something. I'm not quite sure how to help you or guide you, but I'm okay with that for now. And I think we're going to have to do maybe just a touch more back and forth. So you were a gifted kid growing up. You started at the age of 13, like a blog, right? For funsies. Like you were excited about the world.
Yeah.
You got interested in stuff. You enjoyed learning. And then like, as the blog started growing, you got positive feedback about it. You started making money. You hired a team at the age of 16 to do stuff. And like you were on the path to become a somebody, right? Like Barham is like, he's going to be a somebody. And then you kind of made this calculated move to drop out of school to focus on the blog. But then something, I'm not quite sure what happened. You had this sort of vision of your ideal self. You were kind of crushing it. You were doing well, got diagnosed with ADHD, really struggled to make deadlines. And things started, I just get the sense that things kind of like started falling apart. And as they fell apart, you started to really like get stuck. Suddenly, like this future, which you had kind of was like bright, like started to become dim. Furthermore, I'm also guessing that maybe you started to regret like dropping out of school and stuff like that.
No.
No? Okay. And then I'm sure your parents started to tell you, they started regretting you dropping out of school.
Yes.
All right. So there's a
Absolutely.
big nod, right? And then your oppositional defiance like pushed back against that, which is why you don't regret it. They regret it. It's not actually a mistake, right?
Oh, okay, maybe.
I'm asking you.
Now maybe.
Now
I
maybe.
mean, you just pointed something out, and I'm like, logically, I think that makes sense. Internally, I'm like, does it? It does, and it does not at
Tell
the same time.
tell me about that.
Uh, it does because I trust what you say, because I've just seen so many times where people have these mind loops, which you kind of, very simple mind loops, which you just like, oh, you're thinking like this. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Dr. K is so intelligent. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense when you say that to me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a simple mind loop that I never made connections for. My ODD might be the reason why I never regret those things. But at the same time, I don't completely feel that way because I'm like, I kind of want to go back to school now. Now, as in like, just it started like 6 months ago.
You started 6 months ago?
I started wanting to go to school 6 months ago.
Okay. And then there are a couple of other things that I just kind of want to touch on. I'm curious if any of this sort of resonates with you. One is that at some point, people were like, try harder, bro. And I just want to kind of acknowledge that, especially with like ADD, like oftentimes people will think like, oh, if you just try harder, you'll hit your deadlines. And I just want to kind of point out, I don't know if this resonates with you or not, but then like when you try harder and it's not enough, you can start to feel really bad about yourself, right? Because what happens when you try really, really hard? Like, it's one thing to not give all of your effort and fall short. Because in the back of your mind that maybe if you tried harder, you could have gotten an A. It's almost more devastating to give it everything you've got and then fall short.
Yeah, makes sense.
When you say makes sense,
doesn't really resonate with me because I've never really given my all except for this work. Like in my schools, I would never give my all. And I would only do deadline things if a teacher was breathing down my neck every day for like after deadlines or maybe a week before deadlines. And then maybe I'd be like, fine, I'll do it. Otherwise, yeah, you're not going to get me to do the thing, homeworks or maybe anything else. Exams are a different thing, but everything else I was like, yeah, I don't really care as long as I pass the classes.
Okay. So the last couple points that it's very helpful when you're adding your comments, Barham. So tell me, why are you scared to try again? Because it doesn't sound like you have regrets.
Okay. No, I don't have regrets. In fact, okay, you have talked about this thing about, how do I say it in a family-friendly way? We'll see what happens. Attitude. When going into stuff, you will feel resistance, but we'll see what happens. Attitude. I did it, and I failed. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that again for something and have it fail again.
Okay. So, but you don't regret the failure?
Okay, that's a very tricky thing. Now I don't regret it, but for the longest time, I regretted the fact that when I was imagining and daydreaming myself to be that ideal self, I'd always regret the fact I'm such a piece of shit. Like, I could not do that. I could not do such a simple task of just being punctual.
Okay.
That everyone can do. Like, being on deadlines, like getting
you
things
can
done
you
by
can
deadlines.
when you put on a costume of your ideal self, then you can regret it, but you don't actually regret it.
Yeah, when I'm myself, I'm like I have a very high IQ externally and very low IQ internally when I'm myself.
Sure. I think we'll get to that in a second. So, okay, so that's useful to know. So basically no regrets, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay. So let's just kind of tunnel down there for a second. So here you are, age of 13, you start blogging, and you're going to be a somebody.
I was just like
excited.
I'll have fun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then 16, right? like you're gonna be somebody, money enters the picture, you start to realize like, oh my God, like,
A lot earlier, actually.
okay. So like you start to like,
But by 16, everything was like falling apart.
okay. So I'm just kind of curious, what is it like to be on the road to success and then have it all fall apart?
I think for a second, I don't quite remember that feeling. Hmm. Okay, so one thing that I would do was if I made a promise and I, you know, renege on it, I would, to make up for it, I would make nearly impossible promises just to overcompensate that my ideal self could obviously do. And I believed in myself that, yeah, I can do it, but I'd never be able to do it. And I just felt like it's getting farther and farther away. And it felt like eventually to a point I was just like, why am I trying? It wasn't in an emotional sense. It was just like a practical sort of thing. Like, why am I trying? It's not working out.
Barham, do you feel like you've squandered a good portion of your life?
For a while I did.
And what happened to that feeling?
It kind of went away somehow.
Okay.
I don't really know what happened to it. It just went away, and I was like, I'm me. I'm here. I still have, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 decades to live. Why should I care about some years that I just spent doing something in which I learned a lot of stuff, to be honest?
Sure.
Why should I look at it negatively? I came to that conclusion, I suppose.
I think it's a very valid conclusion to come to. So here's what I think could be going on, Barham. I'm not quite sure how to say this, so I'm going to stumble through my words. You let me know what sits well with you and what doesn't.
Okay.
So the first thing is that I think, like you kind of said, you struggle to feel things unless you're kind of pretending. But to me, it just doesn't make sense that someone who has such a bright future that was like really, and it wasn't potential, right? It was happening. Like it was real. Like you were 14 years old or 15 years old and 16 years old and like helping your parents pay the bills. Arre va?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right?
Sound Hindi gets me all the time.
So it's like,
Yeah, I guess, yeah. In hindsight, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Makes sense.
And then like for you to kind of drop the ball there, bro.
Oh my God. I'm not trying to boast, but yeah, I guess that, yeah, it can be seen that way. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you see it that way?
Not necessarily, because in the end, that money never really came to me. I was like just paying my parents' bill. I couldn't really do anything that I wanted to do. Granted, I pretty much had nothing else to do, but I'd still have liked to have some money.
So when
to
you
myself, too.
devalue your success like that, because that's what you're doing there, right? You're devaluing your success. You're like, then money never came to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it never came to you, but oh, so 16-year-old just paying your parents' bills. It's not like it was any like they went to them, right?
I mean, I'm not really devaluing because it never really felt like an amazing thing. Maybe it felt amazing for like 5 minutes to me, but then it was like, yeah, okay. Moving on. I need to get things done.
Okay, sure. So what I'm detecting more than anything else is like a lot of numbness. And
yeah, it's been there since I can remember.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I think when we're not aware of our emotions, they manifest in ways like randomly losing interest. Like it doesn't logically make sense that you randomly lose interest. Like you seem like a genuinely curious and interested guy. I don't think it's randomly losing interest. I think it feels random to you because you're blind to like certain forces within you. Like human beings work on principles. How are you feeling when I say stuff like that?
I'm feeling that I relate to it more because you talked about in this one VOD of yours on YouTube that I watched about addiction, that people with addiction would one day be like, okay, I'm not going to drink. And then 3, 4 months down the line, they're drinking again and they're like, I don't know what happened. And I was like, maybe that's happening to me.
Yeah.
I did think that way.
So I think a couple other things is I wonder if you're actually like oppositional defiant within yourself. Like, because when you said like, you know, fighting is my natural, something kind of clicked. I have no idea if this is correct or not, but like, I almost get the sense that you're fighting a war with yourself. And anytime you try to get out of the pit, that suffocating feeling is like, don't do it. Like what I see, I don't see anyone else holding you back. I see you holding yourself back. And I think since you're kind of blind to emotions, like you're not even aware of like, you're kind of tackling yourself. Like that's what it is, right? You try to get up because you're not actually in quicksand. There isn't an external force. You're pinning yourself. Like you're holding yourself there. You're dragging yourself back anytime you try to move forward. And you kind of talk about fear, but I don't even know if it's fear. I mean, I know you say fear, so that's what we're going to assume. But what I'm noticing is like there's an absence of all kinds of other stuff. Like, I don't know how to say this, bro, but like people who are going where you are going should be full of regret.
No, frankly, I'm not. And that's something I've thought about what I feel a lot. And it's gotten to the extent that luckily I can feel a lot of stuff now within me. In the past, I'd say 3 years.
Yeah. So now I've got another kind of weird. Go ahead.
It's not by myself, unfortunately. Actually, fortunately, other people helped me. My romantic partner at the time helped me out a lot in this aspect. And I was like, okay, maybe I should start looking into myself. And I come to realize I don't regret that time that much. I regretted it a lot at some time when I failed, and for like a year or 2 or 3 after that. But after that, I was like, I kind of regretted it, but at the same time, I was like, I'm glad that I got to experience that thing.
Sure. So I think that sounds like
I'm happy with the fact that I got that chance.
So that sounds, so that's the tricky thing from my perspective. I don't know if it's numbness or it's been dealt with, right? So whether you've moved through the regret or it was never there. So you're telling me that you've moved through it, which is totally fine. Last kind of random question. I've never asked this question before. I have no idea if it's a good question or not. You were saying that, so now you're more in touch with your emotions, right?
Yeah.
You're able to feel more. So you were also saying that you're the most in touch with your emotions when you're pretending to be your ideal self.
Okay. Yeah.
Any chance you're pretending to be burnt out?
No, I haven't. Okay, wait, that was not the question I was expecting. Okay. Am I pretending to be burnt out? Why would I do that?
I have no fucking clue. I'm just wondering, when I asked that question, don't worry about the why. Like,
am I? Sorry. I don't know.
I like I said, I've never asked that question. It's not something I've ever encountered. But you seem exceptional to me.
I genuinely don't know.
And like, there's a part of me that just wonders. This is just something for you to think about, right? I'm not saying you're like, hey, you are pretending to be burnt out. No, like, please don't take it that way. I'm just like, I'm asking for your help with this random thing that popped into my head as I was hearing you speak. That
basically, the question that I was expecting from you was, are you pretending right now to be able to feel stuff? Which is not the case, because I went through a situation in which I was pretending, I got found out, and let's just say I had to deal with the aftermath of it, which kind of helped me get closer to my real self. and still feel stuff.
Yeah, so here's kind of what I'm sort of thinking.
Yeah.
Like I'm just wondering whether like there is something protective about being burnt out. Right? Cuz like then do you really have to do like, oh, it's like you're burnt out, like, you know, not your fault. You're a victim.
But then I do hyperventilate, and I still want to learn things. I still
Of course,
love
of
learning
course,
things.
of course. But Param, like, of course you want to learn. You're a good person. You're bright. You have a lot of motivation. But poor you, you're burnt out. That's why. It's hard.
I can see certain situations in which I might think that way, and I can see certain situations in which that does not apply.
What,
Yeah.
what feels more right to you?
Both, actually.
So I think that's
Feels like two different parts of me.
So I do, the only thing that I feel pretty confident about is that this game is not Param versus the world, it's Param versus Param. Whether that's you being kind of ODD, and this is the crippling thing about ODD. So the biggest problem with ODD is that when someone tells you something and they're right, you will never accept it because of the ODD.
Never.
So what that means is that
Absolutely
if your
never.
parents are ever right, and they're like, Param, all you need to do is ABC, and they're 100% right, you will throw that solution even if it's 100% right for you. You'll throw it out the window because of the ODD.
Yeah, I have done that, and that's still an issue to a certain extent.
Yeah, so you got to think about that. But like there's something going on here where when you try to act, like all I really feel confident about, I want you to ignore 50 to 90% of what I say. All I really feel confident about is when you try to do something, it's like some cobra like rises up within you and like then tackles you. Right? There's something weird going on inside you where like when you try to move forward, is it fear? I don't know how to say this, bro, but I think fear sounds a little bit too simplistic. And that could be like an incorrect judgment on my end. Because I'm just getting maybe you've worked through the regret, but it's almost like, I mean, maybe you have worked through the regret. I don't know. But like, and maybe this is fear, right? So I can see how Here's what I'm concerned about. And I'll kind of leave you with this and kind of give you the last word. But there's a part of me that's worried that you can't forgive yourself because you didn't do anything wrong. And sometimes lack of forgiveness, like you can't move forward without it.
But like, if I did nothing wrong, what should I forgive myself for?
That's exactly my point. Is that's what's so there's a possibility here that like what you need to do is kind of admit that you fucked up. And then what you've got to do is say like, even though I fucked up, I can forgive myself. You know, I really dropped the ball there. And once you're able to do that, you're okay dropping the ball again. Right? Because if it's okay to drop the ball, then you can pick it up in the first place. The problem is like you're so paranoid about dropping it. But like if there's anything wrong with it, why do you have to be afraid of dropping in the first place? It's okay. It's a learning experience, Param. Learn, Vita. It's okay. And then yet here you are not willing to pick it up. So there's just something about this that doesn't fit with me. And there's like, it's very ego protective to devalue. Like, I mean, so the hard thing about this for me, Param, is that I do think you've genuinely grown in a lot of ways. But for some people, genuine growth and like psychological ego defensiveness looks a lot alike. Right? So I know I struggled with this where it was like, okay, like I'm going to be spiritual, take sannyas.
Oh yeah, you've talked about that
right?
a lot on your streams.
And like that can absolutely be genuine, and there's a part of that is still genuine for me today, but there's also part of it that was straight up bullshit, bro. And what I'm just getting, there's something just does not add up. And there's a part of me that kind of says, like, what you need to do is admit to yourself that you kind of screwed up. And and then work through and say, like, it's okay to screw up. But what I'm hearing from you is, oh, like, I didn't really screw up. Like, I learned from it, so it's okay. I didn't really see the money, so it's okay. So it's okay, so it's okay, so it's okay. And then what happens is, if it's really okay, then you should be able to get up and leave the house and, but then what happens when you get up, there's this suffocating feeling. There's something powerful there. Something about this picture is just not adding up for me. I'm not saying I'm right and that you're wrong. But like I see you struggling against yourself. I see you genuinely striving forward and genuinely stopping yourself. I do wonder whether like some of the solutions are like, if your parents told you it was a mistake to drop out of school, you can never admit that. And then you can't regret it.
I never did.
If they said it's a mistake, it's no mistake.
Yeah,
and then if it's not a mistake, then you get all this devaluing crap. And then if you never made a mistake, you never forgive yourself, but deep down, it's a mistake. And then like you can't move past it. And for 7 years, you've been stuck.
I don't feel like it is a mistake deep down. Maybe it's just numbness, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think that the logical stuff that you say, I do think that there's truth in that. Right? So like that, I don't think you're wrong. I think everything about this conversation to me, Barnum, feels incomplete as opposed to wrong.
So that incomplete thing might be the reason behind everything? Could be.
I mean, I get this. I get the sense we've got half the puzzle pieces. That's another way to put it. And I think some of the puzzle pieces you threw into the fire because your parents handed them to you. And then like the picture isn't coming together.
Maybe it could be the case that because we're talking specifically about burnout, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about.
Sure.
Which doesn't really relate to burnout.
So I think that's also where, like, when you say something like that, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know that means that, oh, okay, so we don't have a good picture of it, so we need additional information, which makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. What also sometimes makes sense for sneaky fuckers like yourself, I said that with love, is that the closer we get to the real thing, the more additional crap you're going to throw in to distract us. I don't know.
I can see myself absolutely doing that.
So like the like when you say, oh, but like Dr. K, you forgot all this stuff. I need to share all this other stuff with you. I don't know, because like the thing is,
I didn't mean it in that sense. I just thought maybe it might be a thing. I don't know. We don't have to talk about that.
I don't doubt that everything that you think of is important. I don't doubt that. More information is never bad. I'm just sharing with you that, like, I don't know that, I don't think we're going to be able to figure this out today, Barham, and I'm sorry about that. But, like, I think you've really got to take a long, hard look at yourself. Try to figure out, like, would I allow myself to regret what's happened? For all the things that your parents have told you. Because, like, here's the thing. Once you start defying that, even if you tell it to yourself and you believe it in some part, you're going to defy it within yourself internally. I'd also ask, like, these are more long-term things. Because one thing that I really do get from you is that despite you kind of saying you've been stuck for 7 years, I get the sense you've genuinely made a lot of progress. And that sometimes it takes a couple of years to figure stuff out, especially when the mind is, like, complex. And the problem here is that the person that you're wrestling against is gifted. Right?
It's the bane of everything.
Honestly, it is. Like people like you struggle, like, because it's just, it's like any of these. Do you play video games?
I was playing League back in 2016 when I was going through this shit.
So,
I was very addicted to it. It was a very good coping mechanism.
so,
I was very tilted.
there are a lot of video games where like you fight like this doppelganger boss, right? So in Elden Ring, it's like
Yeah.
mimic
Yeah.
tier. Like you walk in and there's this like
Yeah.
magic mirror, and then like some shadow of you steps outside. And the thing about like, you know, beating the mimic tier in Elden Ring is you go in without any weapons, and then like it comes out weak, and then you equip something, and then you can own it. But the stronger you are, the harder the fight is. And what I get from you is
Yeah.
that like this is why it's going to take a while, because the evil shadow that steps out of the mirror is like jacked and is a beast.
Okay, so basically, because I've grown, that has also grown.
Yeah, so that's where I think something about this. So I would say a couple of concrete things. The first is really try to figure out, like, I mean, you had a really bright future, and that's gotta hurt to lose. And if you've
It
gone
definitely
through it,
did. It hurt.
if you've
back
gone
then.
if you've gone through it, that's totally fine. Then I'd kind of ask, like, if you survived it once, like, why can't you survive it again? Couple of other questions to ask is, when you feel like that suffocating feeling, like, what is that? Because that's a pile of emotion.
That was kind of the main thing I came here wanting an answer to. Like, what is that feeling? We never got into that conversation.
It's because I don't, I know it's kind of weird. Like I think it's really important, but I don't know if we, I mean, yeah.
I'm still glad that I got to talk to you.
No,
because
I know. I'm
did
just
apply for your
trying to,
psychiatry
I'm trying to figure out
back
if I
then.
give you an answer to that, are you going to push back? And is it better for you to discover it on your own, which is really what I'm thinking.
No, I'll discover it on my own. Just leave me with the questions.
Yeah, so
type them
I
out.
think just to really ask yourself, like, what is this feeling of suffocation? We've got an interesting exercise, which you should participate in, by the way, that there are studies that have mapped emotions to certain parts of the body. So it's like literally like there's like a pattern of emotion. And when you have that suffocation feeling, what I would really do is like circle every part of your body that you feel anything in, and then look at the list of 100 emotions and see if it maps onto any of those. I'd be super curious what it maps onto.
What is that study? Where can I find it?
It'll be somewhere. I'll talk to Tech Teller about it. It's already somewhere.
Okay.
I just don't know where. So you can use
Okay.
like physicality to diagnose an emotion. It's not 100%, but people have done studies where they basically asked like 1,000 people to map various emotions, and like the distributions are quite unique. So like 50% here and 90% here is different from 90% here and 50% here. There are all these different emotions, like, and we'll see if it's regret. You know, and that's the tricky thing, is that I don't know. You know, I genuinely don't think that this is like, you're not all like being sneaky and stuff, but there's something about this that a part of you is hiding, a part of you is resisting, a part of you, like, you know, it's you that's kind of doing this.
The problem is I don't even know what I'm hiding, because I think I just laid myself bare.
Yeah, I think it's, I agree. I think it's hard to figure out, but it's a journey, and you've already made significant progress, and I think you just got to keep walking.
Interesting. That's kind of tiring and exhausting to think about, but it's not really something that gives me a feeling that I can't do it, because I'm already doing it.
I think exhausting
I've done it.
is the right response, because I think there's more to do.
Yeah. I feel it in my chest, in my stomach.
What do you feel?
That suffocating feeling.
Are you afraid?
No, it's just that feeling, like I can feel it.
Is
I'm
it-
not afraid though.
Does it feel like you can't do it?
No,
Does it
absolutely not.
Does it feel like you don't want to?
A little bit maybe.
Does it feel like you shouldn't have to?
No.
Does it
It's
feel
just
like
maybe
pity?
a little bit. I don't. That's an interesting word you threw out there. Okay. I guess, yeah,
What are you pitying?
a little bit of it. I don't know. It just feels like I'm pitying something in me, and I don't know what.
Would you allow yourself to feel pity for yourself?
I'm okay with this. I just want to know what am I pitying? Like, I feel like I'm seeing half the road, and the end is just dark. I want to see where it's leading to, so I just know, okay, this is the thing. I'm fine with feeling it.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe this could be just that ODD or something, again, rearing its head.
Barum, I think you deserve better.
Oh, oh my God, it just felt so good to hear that. Oh, oh my God, oh my fuck. That felt so, I don't know what, that feeling's gone.
You look like you're tearing up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I don't usually do it. It's very rare for me to tear up. Oh my God. This is not on the stream, right? I'm not being shown on the
Nope.
stream. Oh, thank goodness. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, that felt so good. I deserve better. It feels so good. Just to say it to myself. I just don't know what is this thing affecting every time I say
Don't do what you're
when you
doing.
said
Don't
it.
nope. So there's your mind again. Just sit. What is it affecting? There goes the logic. Don't. What next? Nope. Just. I think it feels good, and I think you should cry about that too, because you do deserve better, and you didn't get that. It's not fair what you've been through. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve what has happened to
I
you.
just had this thought of like it felt like lost opportunity
Yeah.
that just really sucked.
Yeah.
And how I wish that didn't happen, or I could turn back time and just,
It's
yeah,
really sad, isn't it?
maybe I do regret, but it is, it is relieving to just hear that I deserve better. Damn it, Dr. K, you did your magic. I never thought I'd be the one crying.
Well, I can't do it without you. It's okay, man.
I'm just kind of feeling just wanting to cry. I don't know what it is, but I just want to cry. That's
Okay.
very rare for me.
So cry. I think
Very
maybe,
tough for me as
yeah.
well.
So I think maybe it's gonna be hard if I'm sitting right here. But
Oh no, that's not the problem. I'm quite an emotional person. If I cry, I end up crying. No, doesn't matter how many people are watching me.
okay.
But
So I would say,
like, it's just this feeling is kind of going like relieving and wanting to cry and relieving. So I'm finding it hard to just cry
it's all
because
right.
it feels so good.
It, Yeah. So I think just so what I would recommend is that you, I don't know like where you are, but get some fresh air, maybe wash your face, just sit with yourself for a little while.
It's nighttime. I'm literally in India.
Okay. So I don't know if you can open a
It's
window.
12 midnight.
Okay. So I'm not sure, but I would say just be with yourself for a little while and don't try to fix it or change it or what next. Just be. Don't even meditate. Just
I tried. I couldn't really do it.
okay. Barm, good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. K. I was not expecting to be selected for this because I did try to apply to your psychiatry website that you have,
Mhm.
and it was like, oh, Dr. K is not taking any patients. I'm like, damn, I have shit luck. And now I got to get on a call with you. I'm like, damn, I really got some help. I don't know what this help is, and I don't care. Okay, I should stop
Yep.
being logical.
Good.
But
Good.
it's it's good.
Good.
It just feels good.
I'm happy to hear that. Good luck to you, Burrow.
Thank you very much, Dr. K.
Adios.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
All right, we've got. I don't even know how to summarize what that was. Let's just move on. I'm processing. Hello. Hello?
Hello. Hi. Sorry, I was muted for a bit.
Oh, no problem. Welcome. What do you go by, friend?
Okay. Animatonica, but you can call me Annie.
Annie. Okay. Nice to meet you, Annie. What's up? You're burnt out? What's burning you out nowadays?
Oh, I have been burnt out since forever, probably.
Since forever. It's a very long time.
Yeah. I think, yeah, since my existence, I just think burnout has just become a friend of mine.
Oh my goodness. I know we're joking about it, but that sounds genuinely awful.
Like, I remember a lot of things in my childhood that I've done, and some things that just, made me feel like I've been put to the brink of my own self. And now I'm here. So, yeah.
Is there something in particular you wanted to talk about today?
Well, I'm assuming since we're talking about burnout and how to deal with it, okay, let me just get my thing right. Yeah, the prompt. This prompt really resonates with me. Like the topic of burnout has always been like something that has resonated with me, like ever since I heard about it. And now that's becoming more, present in the internet with more talks about it. And especially after COVID, which, sucks because I think it should have been, addressed more often before COVID even happened. So now that the world is awakening to the idea of burnout, and then we're hearing trends of quiet quitting and, working inside, your home, remote work and all that, I feel like we're going in a direction. But in my case, I feel like it's always been sort of the same thing. Same grind, same days, same thing.
And you said what have you been? Tell me what your grind is like.
So my grind, everyday grind. I'm from Egypt. I started second year of college just now, so I'm semester 3, and doing 6 different subjects. And it's computer science student. Still haven't picked like a specialization yet, but hopefully I will by year 3, and off to the world I go. I have a long-term plan for this, which I've kind of planned out for, that once I finish college, I'll be going abroad and taking either like a degree, like an associate degree or a diploma elsewhere, somewhere in the animation field, or a master's somewhere in the art field, and I can like launch my art career from there. Because I've always been like an artist. I've always aspired to be an artist. And COVID really just shat on that the moment I had the chance to go to art school.
Wait, tell me about that.
So before, when I was like applying for college, around grade 11 or 12, I was stressfully being pushed to the limit to learn art skills, to build portfolios for prestigious animation schools out there. So I had a plan of like applying to 3 different computer engineering universities and 3 different art schools or art colleges, universities. Because, a part of my family, which, I only live with my mom. There's no dad in the picture, no siblings. I'm an only kid. And of course, I consider myself a gifted kid because that's always what I've been learned to be, according to my mother. So to like, balance it out and compromise with my mom, who wants me to see me getting like a lot of money, get a car, get a house, have a good relationship, have kids, the typical thingamajig that parents always vibe about. We love that. I told her, Mom, I want to be an artist. And she came up to me like, huh? You want to starve to death on the street? No, man. So during high school, from middle to high school, I was trying to convince her about the animation career and how it's actually lucrative instead of a starving career. I told her there are schools that teach you about animation, and the only time she listened to my word was that when we went to convention where all universities would like come in and just you talk to a representative to that university and they would tell you about what they do, their degrees, their scholarships, whatever. It was like a big thing at that time, and I was like, yo, let's look at the art schools and I'll tell her how good art school can be and how it could like the art career is not like that bad, because she's got this old kind of thinking that artists just kind of starve. You have to be old to create a novel, because I told her I want to be a writer and she told me you have to be like 50 plus years to write a novel. You can't just write a novel when you're this young. Like, I didn't get it at the time, but when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, when you want to write a book, you usually want to write a book about your life that you've been through the past 60 years. But what I meant by novel was that I want to write a story, like, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, all that jazz that we all vibe to. But anyway, I kind of deviated away from the novel stuff and I went towards, I want an animation career. So we talked to this dude at the convention, college, a very special college where it specializes in animation. It's like the one stop shop where you want to graduate and be elected by Disney or Pixar right away, because they hire these they get students ready for these, and damn, it's really, really expensive for an international student. But my mom was willing to get to that. But of course, there's the barrier of, going through a portfolio. And that was, the most stressful part about it. I looked into the requirements for 3 different art schools, and they were in Canada because I want to immigrate there. So one of them was also like 2 of them were really prestigious, and the other one was like also good. A lot of popular films were out of there, but we didn't really consider it that much. And the other 3 engineering schools, one was in NYU, which college fees are huge, and the acceptance rate is like 3%. And I'm like, okay, Mom, you have high hopes for me. Let's do this, I guess. And I'm like,
Wait, she wanted you to go to NYU or art school somewhere over there? She was okay
I've
with
always
that?
struggled. Like, I don't know how my mom realistically thinks.
Wait, so she was okay with you going
Yeah,
there?
because you remember, she wants me. Yeah, she wants me to be a computer engineer, but she doesn't mind me going to an art school.
Okay.
Like, we had to split it up into these 2 categories because, compromise. I gotta make my parent happy, make myself happy.
Okay.
So I did my best we went to like this cultural heritage thing in the country we're living in, and we went to like connect to artists to teach me how to like do oil painting and all that, because one of the portfolios required like you need to be good at different mediums of art. You can't just be good at digital art or just animation. That was Emily Carr. It was on the list, if you know that school. It's in Canada as well. So I tried to do my best. And my art teacher, the thing that still stuck to me was that the fact that my art teacher, which I really liked and respected, told my mom that I wouldn't be able to like get there because it's too prestigious. And my mom, being a stubborn parent she is, told me, nah, that's not gonna happen. And so we went through the grueling process of preparing portfolios on time, as well as, 11th grade summer, I had a lot of exams.
When your mom said that's
mixed
not going to
exams.
happen, she listened to the person's advice, or she was opposing the person's advice and they're like, no, we're going to do the portfolio?
Opposing.
Okay.
Yeah, opposing. She was like,
So she's
no.
like pro art
She
school.
wanted to make me feel like, yeah, she wanted like to make me feel like I can be good enough to go there. It's not that problematic.
Okay.
So, my mom was like, she's trying to get me through that portfolio process. And there was a lot of problems with that portfolio process because I had to go after school to like these night classes to learn to draw oil painting. And during that process, I was like so overwhelmed. It became like a question of like, do I really want art school? Do I really want to make my hobby a part of, my career? And it was like it hurt me so much because I couldn't tell that to my mom that I'm backing off. I couldn't tell my mom that I had these doubts because she'd be like, huh, come on, you said you wanted this. And in truth, honestly, while in school, art was like a class I really appreciate, I didn't feel like I was getting the training I wanted in that specific field of animation. So I was doing it on the side. But I had limited digital art resources. Like I didn't have a drawing talent until like really later on. And I just felt like I was super rusty on that end. And the portfolios, like the requirements were super big, especially for like one of them. Like the other one was called Sheridan College. This one had the most difficult kind of portfolio out there. So after that grueling process of finishing grade 12, submitting my grades to these colleges, and and to be fair, one of the most annoying things was my mom was very persistent on taking French class. Yeah, it was either I take art class or French class as an option. And she said, if you want to go to Canada, you have to learn French. And I'm like, Mom, I asked my teachers. My teachers are literally Canadian, 100% Canadian blood. They said you don't need French to immigrate there. But she's like, nah. So last minute, when the requirement said, hey, you need to finish art 30 or something, or art 20 and 30, I was like, Mom, I'm gonna have to cram art 20 because I didn't do it in grade 11, and art 30 as in like grade 12. So I was cramming both curriculums last minute because my mom was like, yo, take French. It's better for you in the future. So it was a lot of rearranging, a lot of managing. At the end of the day, the results came in. I was all the art schools except for one. I failed one portfolio, so there were two options: Emily Carr and the other one, which was more in Ontario. And NYU did not accept me. Obviously, I was not special enough, despite writing an essay about why I wanted to go to school. And I don't know about the other two. My mom and I we were ranking the priority system, and we just kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot. That same art school that I talked about, which, was very prestigious, I failed the art portfolio for
Wait, when you say failed the art
this
portfolio,
one. I succeeded.
wait,
So I was happy.
what do you mean by failed the art portfolio?
Yeah. So I went to art school. We talked about,
Hold on
to
a second.
how
I'm getting a lot of like robot voice. Let me see if there's anything we can do about that. But okay. So try saying something now.
So the art portfolio for Sheridan.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, you were lagging a bit.
Sorry about that.
I think
You were saying
I think you sound better. Yeah.
so you were saying you failed the art portfolio. What does that mean?
So the art portfolio, you have to succeed above a certain percentage. I think that's 90% or more. Or like the higher percentages, like 100% or 100%, you're like at the top of those who, submitted their portfolio, so they were more likely to pick you, right?
I see.
So it's like a percentage, like it's like grading system. So I got like a measly 36%. So
Okay.
obviously my portfolio didn't succeed,
Okay.
so I couldn't get in.
Okay.
And it was kind of demoralizing because I was expecting at least a 60%, but I did not.
Okay.
So that was that. After that, we went with the computer science program at Sheridan, much to my dismay. And the thing is like, we could have went to Emily Carr, but the thing that peeved my mom the most was that there was no campus for the university. You had to like rent a home, which is even more money. And my mom was like, "That's dangerous. I can't leave you out there all alone." And just, I mean, I was 18. I was told you have to get out of the nest at some point, but my mom was like, "You can't do that. It's too hard." And I was like, at the time, I just didn't know what to say because I wanted the art career so hard. But at the same time, I was dealing with doubts inside of me. I couldn't really say yes or no. I couldn't be assertive as much as I wanted to. So at that point, I told her, "Sure, let's go the computer science route, and let's just take art later down the line."
And
And that's what I tried.
and how do you feel nowadays?
So I just I think remote learning just kind of messed me up so hard because I really wanted to get out of the house. The house is very suffocating. It's just me and my mom, but during our like my teenage years with her, they were very rocky. It was always about grades. It was always about like snatching my phone away. You should be taking a nap. You should doing this and stop doing this. And it was like I just felt like the house was suffocating. So I really enjoyed going to school. Really, I really liked seeing my friends, and there was counseling there as well. So when I started counseling with my guidance counselor, I was like,
Good
I
for you.
never realized how emotionally numb I was. I was so closed off. I was so cold. And it just kind of makes sense now because all the struggles I've been through was that I was very unaware of my emotions back then. I didn't have a safe space to like, you know,
Yeah, so
show people my emotions.
Annie, how are you now?
I am second year in a different college. And I failed like the first one because it was too difficult for me. So now I'm doing it back in my home country, not elsewhere. Not doing remote learning anymore, thankfully. So that's positive, I guess. And right now I'm just trying to finish college as soon as I can so I can get to where I want to be, technically speaking.
Okay. And you're feeling pretty burnt out?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It means like it just means I have to delay what I really want to focus my effort on for later and doing things that may or may not be fruitful later down the line.
Okay, so I'm hearing that what you're really upset about is delaying and help me understand the fruitfulness piece.
Like I expect out of graduating with this degree is that I'll be able to make money, a good amount of sum of money to support myself if my art career does not, you know, float off well,
And
at least.
what do you think about that?
It's a backup plan, just sort of there in case things fall south. And that's it, really. I don't know anything else about it other than it's like I have to do this
You have to do what?
sort of thing. I have to finish this degree because my mom would otherwise be very worried about my state in the world, my survival or whatever.
So, do you think it's a good idea to finish the degree?
Yes.
So, do you
But at
have
the
to
same time, no.
help me understand the yes and the no?
So I've been after that crisis, I thought about what I really wanted in life. So I didn't do art for at least a year or two or three. I wasn't drawing a lot. I was seeing myself trying to test my waters myself in like the waters of the IT world, see how I fare and how I may like it more than art. Because at the time I was like demoralized. I didn't know if I was cut out to be an artist at all. So I was like, hey, let's try this, you know, computer thing because I'm a gamer. I spend a lot of time on the computer, and my mom was like, "Yeah, you spend a lot of time on the computer, so you might as well be an IT professional or something." And we both agreed, begrudgingly, I guess, that yeah, sure, I guess it would work and vibe with me. So I usually sit on my computer all day if I'm not doing other obligations or meeting people and stuff.
The number of people who like
So,
video games and go into like CS or computer engineering.
oh boy,
I really like
I can
food. It doesn't
imagine.
mean I need to become a chef.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like, why do people make these relations? It's just kind of ironic. It's not always true.
So you were saying,
Um,
is are you? Do you think it's a good idea to finish your computer engineering degree or not?
well, I wanted to take art school because A, I really wanted to get connections with other artists. B, I wanted to know how I fare in the art world in terms of progress. Like, am I cut out for this? And if I can push myself out of my comfort zone, will it work out for me later? But since I didn't take that chance, or it's now a little too far away to achieve, I figured that I might as well just work with what I have now and see what's next later.
How do you
Does
feel
that
about
make
that?
sense?
It makes a lot of sense. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. I feel like it's just more stuff to do and delaying my, what I want to achieve in life later. Kind of like, hey, you do the dishes first before you go on your phone sort of
What's
gig.
the problem with delaying things? Why is that a bad thing?
It's it's not a problem per se, but it's like some days when I come back from college, I feel like, man, I should be really working on my art skills if I want to make this happen. But I don't have time to rededicate because college feels like a full-time job.
Well, it kind of is a full time
So
job.
delaying, yeah, delaying it what I mean by that is like I wish I could work on my art skills because I've had friends in school. I've had really close friends in school whose art skills were like 10 times better than mine, especially in anatomy and character design. And I imagine they are astronomically much better than me now since they have the time to draw and all that. I don't know how they do it. They're also going to CS as far as I know. But they just have so much better art because they've had access to a tablet during their high school years. They managed to juggle all of their schoolwork. They keep getting A's, and I was like, wow, that's cool. But where am I now is that I wish I didn't have to delay it any further and do the CS thing first. So maybe I could get closer into doing what I want or feel like I need to do to progress my art career.
Okay. So let me just make sure I understand you, Annie, and you let me know if I kind of missed anything big. So
Hmm.
it's just you and your mom.
Hmm.
She cares a lot about you. She's quite involved in your life. You're a gifted kid.
Yep.
You wanted to
Hmm.
study art. It sounds like it was an uphill battle to convince your mom to let you study art. She thought,
Hmm.
hey, Annie likes games. Maybe you should do computer science or computer engineering so that you can have a job and be able to have a roof over your head and things like that. And then you tried really
Hmm.
hard to basically do like set yourself up for success in both. So,
Yes.
to be competitive for a computer engineering school, which it sounds like you didn't have any trouble to get into.
Hmm. I think the acceptance was you had to get 70% or 70% above as average GPA or whatever. We didn't have a GPA system in my class. It was just by a percentage. So
Okay.
I was like 85% and I was way above that
Okay.
threshold. So I was fine.
So, and it sounds like you were trying to kind of cram in art preparation and portfolio building on top of French and other kinds of things. So it really sounds like to me that you were sort of set up to fail when it comes to applying to art school.
That's exactly the point that my mom's missing. What she sees it is as what she keeps telling me is that you were not interested enough. You refused to do the portfolio. That's why you failed. I saw you like
Okay.
we had times during the you get it, but that's what she would
But
tell me. I would
what do
feel
you
super
think?
hurt because I felt misunderstood. I felt absolutely misunderstood.
Are you cut out to be an artist?
I really don't know.
It's the right answer. Right? So
I don't know because I didn't go to art school.
well,
You didn't give me a chance to go to art school.
wait, who
So
didn't give
how
you
would
a
I
chance
know?
to go to art school?
My mom,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
And I.
So, like, there are a couple things going on. I don't know if this has anything to do with art school. I don't know if it has anything to do with being an engineer. I think the most common thing that you've talked about, you know what you've talked about more than anything else over the last 20 minutes, Annie?
What?
What do you think?
Burnout,
Your
I
mom.
assume. Oh, yeah, that's the obvious answer, obviously.
So here's what I'm hearing. I imagine it's quite hard. So, like, Annie, what do you have? What does your future look like? Does your future have possibility?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Your future is actually quite bright. Like, I know it may not feel like it, but maybe you'll be an artist. Maybe you'll be a computer engineer. Maybe you'll be an animator for a video game one day. Like, who knows? There's a lot of options out there. Sounds like you're relatively young. Your future hasn't been determined yet. Even though you got low marks on a portfolio, it really sounds like you weren't able to put forth a sufficient amount of effort and focus and energy. Forget about effort. Let's talk about just resources. Like, you haven't had the time to try to really make art. So I'm not worried about your future. So let me ask you, what does your mom have in life?
What do you mean have?
What does she have to
what
look
does she
forward to?
do?
What does her life consist of? Like, you've got all this potential. What's in her future?
Well, she keeps talking about, spending money to give me this bright future
Okay.
and stuff. And like, she just wants me to succeed, I guess.
So what does her life consist of?
Just me, I guess.
What is that like for you? How does it feel to be
like a lot? To be the focus of the attention?
Yeah, like you have all these possibilities. Right? Like, you can do this in life, you can do that in life. Like, sure, like, is there doubt? Yeah, maybe you'll suck. Sure. I'm not saying it's like perfect, but I'm saying that there's a lot out there that may or may not work.
Yeah.
But for your mom, what does she have? She's got one thing, and that's you.
That's me, yeah.
And what is it like to have a parent who only has one dimension of their life? Sounds like she doesn't have a romantic relationship. Sounds like she has no other siblings for her to invest her time in. I'm not hearing anything about her career or her aspirations.
She is absolutely, and like, if you need some more background, she is estranged from 2 or 3 of her sisters.
I don't need background.
You don't need?
Nope.
Okay.
I could have told you that.
But yeah.
Like, that's my point. Like, she's estranged from everything. She's estranged from her career. She's estranged from her siblings. She's estranged from your dad. Right? And maybe, I'm not saying that your dad is a good dude. Like, who knows? There are all kinds of reasons why they're single mothers. But, like, I don't need the background. What I'm, like, what's it like for you to be the recipient of your mom? Like, what's it like to be everything for your mom?
It feels like scary. It just feels scary.
What's scary about it?
Because, like, she's always questioning why I do this. And she tells me tell me how is your day? Who are you talking to?
Okay, so
She makes sure that she's just
Annie,
everywhere.
you're burnt out, right?
Mhm.
Whose life are you living?
My mom's?
Not just your mom's. Who else's life are you living? It's kind of a weird question, I know. Not something that anyone has
Is
ever
there
asked before.
Is there someone out there that I don't know?
There's someone
Is
that
there a
we've
ghost?
talked about that you're not so you're living your own life and you're living your mom's. That's why you're burnt out.
Mhm.
You're trying to live for two people. Like, do you get that? Maybe that's a better way to put it. You're living
No, yeah,
for
I get
two
it.
people. So not only do you have all of your own like hopes and dreams and desires and fears and anxieties and doubts, all that shit you have in your own head. Am I an artist? Am I not an artist? Am I an engineer? Am I going to be a starving artist? Not only do you have all of that, you have all that crap for your mom too. Because you have her doubts and her dreams and her fears. And who determines whether your mom's life is successful?
Me?
Absolutely.
Oh,
She's
boy,
not
yeah,
living her
that is-
own life. She's living yours. And you are responsible, whether on her deathbed. If she dies at peace or not at peace, who does that depend on?
Me.
Absolutely. And what house you live in and who you got married to and how many little babies you have and what your title is, where your parking spot is at work, what kind of car you drive. It's hard enough figuring out whether you can make it as an artist in this world. Whether you can pay your bills, whether you like, that's hard. That's a journey that in and of itself requires a lot of energy, a lot of resources, has a lot of suffering involved in it. And you're like, I don't know how to, like, the reason you're burnt out, Andy, is because you're trying to live two people's lives. You have the responsibility of two people's happiness.
Yeah, that's true.
So like, and this is where it's not just, okay, like, can you do engineering and art both? That's hard enough. When you throw in French because your mom thinks you need to learn French because 20 years ago she wanted to learn French and she never did. And now she's like, my life would be different if I had learned French. You got to deal with all that crap too. And like, when I ask you some of these questions, like, it's kind of weird. Like, I'll ask you, like, so, you know, how do you feel about it? Or what do you think? And you'll be like, well, my mom says this. And you use the word we. We got into this college.
Yeah, I do use we a lot. It's become a part of my language now. I'm not myself.
Annie,
I'm just with someone else.
I don't blame you for that, and I don't blame your mom for that. That happens. Human beings do that, and it's totally fucked, my dude.
Oh boy. It's like we're a unit, but I'm the one carrying that unit.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Beautiful. You're living life for two. It's hard enough to live it for one. Now, I have the difficulty of like, how on earth can I help you with this? So here's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to give you some thoughts. I have no idea if they're right, no idea if they're wrong. Okay? I'm just because I don't think that asking you more questions is actually like the most useful thing at this point. I don't need to hear about my mom.
I've asked everything.
Yep. You've given me a ton of information. I think it's all I need. So is it okay with you if I just start spouting crap and you'll see what sticks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Number one, let's talk about your life for a second. Okay. So I have no idea if you're going to make it as an artist or not. I don't know if you're a good artist or a bad artist. The most important thing is that you should be unsure whether you are a good artist or a bad artist, which I get the sense you are. What that means is I don't want that 36 or whatever you got on your portfolio to be the measure of your quality as an artist, because you were set up to fail. So we have no idea. Should you explore art? Absolutely, if that's what you want to do. Even your mom, I wanted to save this for later, but your mom co-opted your dream. Do you see that? She hijacked it. And she's like, we're going to apply to these things. Okay, like you had to argue with her. And as soon as you convince her, she's like, okay, let's go. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You need to learn French so that you can go to Canada and you can be an excellent artist, because the Frenchmen, the French folks, the French women, they're the good artists. So you need to learn French, right? And then she started like driving you towards art in a way that like I'm not even sure you were comfortable with. Anyway, but going back to you. So it sounds like the right move right now is to finish your engineering degree so that you can get some amount of financial stability. I don't think that's a bad plan. Are you going to have to delay? Yes. But in my mind, that's okay. Like, I was paranoid about it when I was your age too, but like as someone who started medical school at the age of 28, I can say that it's worth spending a few extra years to figure out what you really want to do in your life and find what you're good at. You can race into a career and then be miserable for 40 years, or you can take some time, experiment a little bit for 5, and then be happy for like 40 years, 35. Life ain't a race. There's no like finish line. Like, people like to extend the race as much as possible, right? I guess technically the finish line is death. So we want to lengthen out the race as long as we can. So like, if you got to delay, you got to delay. That's all right. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. But the other thing is, I mean, it sounds to me, honestly, like a kind of a bad idea. I mean, I don't know all the details, and ultimately you have to live your own life. But given your question mark about making as an artist, like, I don't know if you should drop out of engineering school and go over to Canada and start studying art. Like, I'm not saying it's the wrong move. It just doesn't definitely sound like the right move. Does that make sense?
What's not the right move?
So I'm not hearing something from you which suggests to me that you should drop out of college, drop out of your computer engineering program, and start art school.
Oh, on my end. Yeah, no.
It just doesn't, based on the information you've given me, that doesn't sound like the right move. It may be the right move one day, and there are times in your life that you have to go all in on something and give up something else. So I don't really, I gave up a clinical career in medicine to do Healthy Gamer, and there are times that that's a good move. But it's like a calculated decision in my mind, and you haven't made all the calculations yet. Okay, so like if you want to do engineering, and then the key thing about engineering is hopefully you'll have the resources and the time to set yourself up to succeed in art. Because if you really want to answer the question, am I cut out to be an artist? Like if you're like trying to figure out, okay, like, do I have what it takes to be a marathon runner? You can't practice with a broken leg. Right? You got to got the tablet late. You got this late. There's financial stuff. You need a roof over your head. You got to sort all that stuff out. Give yourself time to figure out whether you're an artist or not. And what I think the engineering degree kind of buys you is time. Even though it costs time, it also buys you time, and it buys you a chance to like really set yourself up for success. With me so far?
Gotcha.
Now we got to talk about your mom. So I'm going to give you in 5 minutes how I think you should approach your mom. Big disclaimer here that I've never met the woman. I've talked to you for like half an hour, and I have no idea if this will actually be effective or not, but I've worked with a lot of overbearing parents, and I tend to find there's one technique which oftentimes kids don't use, and the reason they don't use it is because the parents never do it. So when you talk to your mom, I want you to ask her questions. Do you do that?
I mean, yeah, depends on the type of questions.
So I want you to ask her questions about her like motivations and thoughts and feelings. Like weird questions like, what would it mean to you if I became an artist?
Actually, so a little update on that. I've been trying to like do a conscious effort on bettering my relationship with her and being more open about her. Before I started the second year, I told her, Mom, we are having a recession right now and shit's about to go down. So we need to keep in touch and be open with communication and be gentle with each other. And she was like super open with the idea.
We need to be
So
open
we've
with
been
each other,
talking to-
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
told her that. We have
So
to
can you
stick
tell your
together.
mom about your doubts of becoming an artist?
Well, I can't because I'm not studying art. I'm focusing on engineering, and all the time. Today before this, I got into the call, and she told me you need to focus more on the studying, And I told her, yes, I am focusing on the studying, despite, I told her, Mom, there are days where I just can't study beyond 7 p.m. I gotta tune out. I can't keep the ball rolling all day on just math and databases and what have you. And she's like, yeah, sure, okay. So it's like I talked to her. I feel like, are we going somewhere? Are we not going somewhere? And she's like, she's agreeable, but I don't know, like, to what extent does she want me to like focus? I don't know what she imagines in her head. What isn't Annie doing in her usual day? That's what scares me, that because I feel like there's a disconnect when it comes to that. Like she probably has an idealized self of me in her head that I don't know, and I'm trying to tell her, Mom, I have to tune out my brain. Sometimes I can't focus. We don't have 4 hours of studying on this. I don't know to what extent. Like she replies in short answers or stuff, and
Annie, so
it's just like,
so you're doing
yeah.
good, and I think there's a lot more you could be doing. So it sounds like
Yes.
you've made a concerted effort to have more of an open dialogue with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like there are all kinds of things that you guys need to talk about. Like, so for example, like when you set some limits with her, which sounds really healthy, that you're like, I can't study past 7 p.m. She's like, okay. But
Yep.
I'm not hearing dialogue there. I'm hearing a boundary which she's respecting for now. And then I have no doubt that within a month, she'll tell you you should be studying more.
Yeah, that always happens. That just happens.
But if you tell her I can't study past 7 p.m., why does she come back in a week and tell you need to be studying more?
I don't know, man. Like,
So you
what
need
is
to
she worried
ask
about?
questions.
Oh, because you got a grade. That's why you should study more.
So you got to ask her questions. When you say I need to study more, this is what I mean. Different kinds of questions. When you say I need to study more, what are you worried about? If I don't study enough, what are you worried about? What do you imagine could happen? Because what's happening is she's got all these fears and ideas and stuff that you don't know. You just said you don't know what's in her head. But she's like, I don't know how to say this. She's stuffing all of her fears into her advice. You get that? And so like,
Exactly.
you can't even argue against her because it's so full of like fear. She's not listening. She's paranoid. So you've got to get all that stuff out and independent of what you should do in your life. Your mom can't be giving you advice when she's paralyzed and paranoid about you moving to Canada and living on your own, because then who's she going to spend time with? And this shit is not this shit is not going to stop with school, by the way.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid, I'm going to assume you're heterosexual for a second. Heaven forbid you ever find a boyfriend and you think about, engaging in a romantic relationship, because she's going to get packed into there too.
No, she told me she will be that kind of mom that's going to be dragged around with me and my husband to go to like the vacations we're going. And I was like, wait, Mom, that's not, do you know?
At least she's transparent about it.
Yeah, but it's like, that's the opposite of what I want.
I know. So this is where like you can tell her, oh, Mom, you can't do that. And she's going to say, okay. And then she's going to do it.
No, she argued against that.
Yeah. So she's going to argue. I can tell you.
But we're family.
She's going to argue for a while. And then she's going to realize that unless she relents, she's going to push you away. Yeah. And so then she's going to relent because she can't push you away. And then it's going to squeeze back in. She's going to make you feel guilty. Okay, y'all have fun. I'll just be alone all by myself.
Oh my God. Mama.
It terrifies me that you're laughing, because if you're laughing, that means you understand. And if you understand, that means I'm right.
No, I understand it 100%. Because I literally feel like I am the unit that carries both units.
Yes.
And it's already overbearing as hell.
So I'm telling you, Annie, what you've got to do is talk to her, not about what to do, but like, what's she afraid of? What are you worried about? What does it mean to you? If I go to college in Canada, what's that like? You said earlier that
Like-
you can't talk to her about your doubts of going to,
I feel like, yeah.
maybe you don't want to do art because now she's invested all this time and energy and things like that. So like what you got to do is share with her, hey mom, sometimes I don't know whether art is right for me. What do you think?
Oh boy. Well, you know, I sometimes look at my mom and I wonder, man, when I was a kid, I know that she used to try and like date some men, and then she would come up to me like, "Are you sure you wanna?" She asked me for permission about the guy that she's dating, and I was like, "Mom, you should be happy. You should be with the person you love." And then at the end of the day, it doesn't actually progress beyond that. She just stops dating, and I see her back to being a loner mom, much to my dismay.
Annie?
And then sometimes that we go into this discussion, which I really don't like, where it's like, you're everything in my life. If someone comes in, a third party, it's like, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel estranged. Stepfathers and stuff, all that stereotypes and all that. And it's just like, okay.
Annie, my
Ah.
friend.
It's like, mom.
I feel for you, but I say this with love. You're so fucked.
I know I am. I have been destined to be.
Look, if she's telling you, if she's asking for your permission when she dates someone, what do you think she's expecting from you?
Response, probably like a no.
No, she's expecting you to ask her for her permission when you start dating, right? Because that's the game.
Wait, what?
Right?
What?
This is what I'm warning you about. Because y'all are one.
What?
It's we. And we don't get to bring in a third person. I am asking you for permission to bring in a third person. It gets even worse. Because when she decides nothing comes between us, Annie, I will not let my happiness come between us.
Oh.
I'm telling you.
Oh. Okay.
Okay,
Wait.
so I'm not saying you're not, this isn't hopeless. This is actually like, you can have a wonderful relationship with a romantic partner and have a wonderful relationship with your mom. It's just going to take a lot of talking. And I don't know, right? I met you half an hour ago, so maybe not, all this stuff won't apply. But I'm telling you, I've seen, whenever I hear a kid use the word we when it comes to getting into college and are talking about a parent, these are the kinds of problems that I see 10 years later when they come into my office and are like, need help with this business. So your mom is an awesome person. She's made huge sacrifices. You sound like an awesome person. I think that you can live a happy and fulfilling life, but you need to be aware of some of these things and you need to start talking to your mom about her feelings.
She's like a closed up closet.
Yeah.
That's hard
And
to
so,
open.
so like before you, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to prevent pain for you. But like the thing is, I don't know if this is actually relevant or not. So you got to take this with a grain of salt. Which is like, you've got to talk to her about when you dated men, what was it like? Not like, you know, what was it like to, you know, not that, but I mean like, you asked for my permission. What, can you help me understand what you were thinking? And this is why, like, you got to preempt it, Annie. You got to, if I start dating someone, do you think it's important that I ask for your permission?
Oh boy.
And have you ever thought about someone, like if I start like having someone else in my life, like what do you think about it coming between us? Is that something that worries you? And then you're going to say something.
The big questions.
Big questions. Yeah. You got to start having these conversations. And honestly, I feel so sad that you're the one who has to do this. Because, like, you're not supposed to have to do this, right? It's the parent who's supposed to do the parenting. And let's not even get into
Oh boy,
how
no,
you've become the
let's
parent.
not.
And if you've got the other thing is that you don't have to do this all on your own. I'm just kind of sharing some of this idea. Like if y'all have, so another reason to get a good engineering degree is that if y'all have the option to do some, like actually work with a professional, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that.
like a
family therapist.
family counselor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And help them kind of do things. Because ideally what you want to do, and I've seen this work out well, okay, is once y'all both acknowledge that there's more to life than just the two of you, what you can do is help her build a life outside of you and support her. Right? And
That's what I'm doing.
Good.
We have
Yeah,
we have been planning to go to Canada so she can get a master's there and do stuff. But
oh,
it's
good.
like,
So
at the same
it's like
time,
y'all are
I have
moving
to be
together,
there.
right? And then she can be in
we're
school.
still like together.
And you can be in school, and y'all can live in the dorm together. Y'all can be roommates.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
It's beautiful.
So
You guys,
weird, man.
y'all, am I being an asshole, Annie? Is this like you got to tell me?
No.
Okay.
But I need to tell you about the counseling part because somewhere along the way, I felt like my relationship with my mom was like impossible. Like I have to get out of there, like disappear. I told her that I needed therapy during COVID. And I also advised her, hey, why don't we talk about this relationship with a therapist at school? It didn't go the way I wanted to. No change happened. My mom remained stubborn. And along the way,
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you. Okay, hold on a second. Because I got to run. But listen, I don't mean to leave you hanging. You know what the mistake you made there was?
Yes.
You didn't use we. You used you. Mom.
Oh, yeah.
We need to do this.
We need to do this, man. Right. But how do you get this old grown woman to realize we are separate entities?
You've got time. Annie, you've got time. I'd say it's going to take a couple, like slowly. You're already on the path. But if you tell her, Mom, you need to see a therapist, she's going to push back. Mom, will you please come to the therapist with me? That she'll do in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'll provide it for you. I'll provide it with my money. I'm an engineer. I can pay for this. Mom, let's go.
It's not about who's paying for it. It's like, Mom, I want you to come with me. I want us to do it together.
Man.
Right? Like Annie, honestly, I think you're awesome. I think that it's amazing that at such a young age, you've gone through so much. You sound so much older. I'm assuming you're around 20.
I'm 20 years old, actually. You're right on point.
Yeah, and so you are so much wiser than a 20-year-old. And
really? Oh,
that
yeah, I've been told that a few times.
And honestly, it's kind of sad because like that means you've had to grow up faster. Like you're supposed to be like kind of not worried about your future and assuming that everything is going to line up and being resentful and going to parties and all this kind of crap, right? But like you've really had to grow up, which is sort of sad. But like I think that you've done such an awesome job at dealing with what sounds like very genuinely difficult circumstances, trying to, you're not like coming in today because we've had these callers too, right? Like I always wanted to study art, but I never even made a portfolio. Like you've actually made a portfolio. That in and of itself is an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
You got accepted to what chat tells me is actually a pretty prestigious art school.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they are very prestigious, and my mom was willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
And help me out with the dream. So thanks to her.
The key thing that I would encourage you to remember as far as art school goes is that whatever they saw that made them offer you the acceptance is still there.
Yeah, I still have a chance to study there. My mom is like, do it for us, the dream, the engineering dream. Please do it first.
Yeah, so that's where I think like you got to just talk to your mom, and like the more that you ask her about her feelings, the more she becomes a separate person. Those are your feelings. These are mine feelings. They can be separate.
It's very hard to kind of like just go explore her as her own. It's always like us. Always me.
Yeah, right. So
that's like, why does she keep dodging the question? Why?
Like honestly, like you probably need professional help.
Yeah, I do. I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
It's too difficult. I've tried it many times.
Yep. But I feel pretty good that like all the work stuff like that'll sort itself out. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not worried at all.
I genuinely feel like I'm the one doing all the work.
Yeah, because
I'm happy about it. Yeah, it's
Your portfolio is going to be fine as long as you don't have to live up to your mom's dreams. Like, seriously.
it also like it fills down to my relationship with friends. It's like I'm the one doing the work, keeping the friendships open. I'm the one reaching out, and at the end of the day, I feel like, wait, why am I always the one initiating? Why is it always me initiating that?
Yeah, there's a whole
So
other
tired
angle
after
there
that.
about the patterns of relationships that we learn are what we extend. Right? So like doing more than you're carrying a relationship is something that you do by default.
Yeah, true.
And the last thing that I want to say is that we're sort of making your mom out to be a villain here, and I really don't think she is. I think that,
She's not a
yeah,
villain. I think she's not. She's just unaware.
right. And even that sounds like, oh, like she's ignorant. Like the other thing to really consider
No.
here, and this is really where the end game is you understanding why it's we. Right? Because your mom, there's a good reason for her to be this invested in your life. It's like love, right? Or any other number of things. And once you really understand that, then y'all will be in a really good place. And for you to be able to say, Mom, like, because what's happened is she's like sacrificed for you, right? She's
A lot,
sacrificed.
and I feel like sad for her when I look at her like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just
So
saddens me.
what she needs from you, right? So I'm like assuming things based on working with people who are like 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out, is like it's not just ignorance, like it's gratitude, right? So like she needs to hear from you that thank you for
She's
sacrificing
always about
your
yeah.
second marriage and your romantic happiness for my career.
Yeah, awkward, honestly.
Awkward. I'm with you.
Because like, why? Well, you can still have it while I'm doing stuff.
No, so that's the thing. So I'll tell you this as a parent. It's not a risk we're willing to take.
Oh,
Can I have both? Sure. But if there's a 1% chance that this turns out to be a bad stepdad, not worth it.
true.
So there's all kinds of positive things here. I think really this is for therapy, Annie.
That's what I'm planning to do, is that
Good.
I help her open up to the idea of therapy, but which she is very against, of course, because like I don't think she doesn't think she has problems, but I know that she has problems. I'm the one who has to drag her into it.
Yeah. Mom, I need you to do it for me.
Yes, exactly. The magic word is for me.
Yep.
Do it for me.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you today. I know your circumstances
Yeah,
are
you-
dire, but I've thoroughly appreciated this conversation.
Me too. I really am honored to talk to you because I've been watching you since 2021. I really liked your spiritual content in addition to,
Cool.
because I like it. I like karmic religions. I don't practice karmic religions. I am, Muslim, but I really enjoy the karmic idea of, stuff. So I really hope you keep continuing helping people, making the world a better place.
All right. Thank you very much for the positive thoughts. We'll definitely take that into account. I'd love to do more spiritual content. Good luck,
Yes.
Annie.
Thank you.
Adios.
See you. Bye.
All right, chat. What to say? So I think the challenge here is that sometimes parents get involved in our lives and they start to live vicariously through us. And so a lot of people will talk about like boundary setting and harshness and setting limits with it. Parents need to be taught a lesson. They need to learn their place. And I think boundary setting is healthy. Don't get me wrong. I think limit setting is healthy. Don't get me wrong. But I think that in a really honestly, the healthiest relationships are ones where we've got to like understand each other. And you've got to understand where your parent is coming from, understand what their experience of living in this life is like, and then share with them what your experience of living in this life is like. Because sometimes we end up carrying two lives, or it feels like that way to us. The really wild thing that we didn't get to is I can almost guarantee you that her mom feels the exact same way. And she's not wrong. Right? Because she's trying to build her own happiness and make sacrifices for the sake of her daughter. So whether her daughter succeeds depends on the mom's sacrifice. So both of them are carrying. It's intertwined. I'd argue not the healthiest, but it can come to a really positive thing. This is what happens, is that we don't realize that, we think that there are good emotions and bad emotions. But I swear, love gets people into just as much trouble or even more trouble than any negative emotion. And so it's challenging. And if you're in this situation where, your parents are a little bit too involved in your life, recognize that they may not be willing to respect the boundary, respect the limit. And so everyone's like, go low contact, go no contact, harsh, 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 which don't get me wrong. Sometimes that's absolutely the right move, but it doesn't have to be the only move, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the default move, because most parents aren't, they can be overwhelming, they can be harmful, but I don't think they're toxic. Some of them are straight up toxic, absolutely. And so when it comes to that, it's really about understanding, right? Asking questions, starting to separate out your feelings from their feelings. What would it mean to you if I went to the school? What would it mean to you if I didn't go to the school? If I went to the school that I wanted to go to or study the thing that I wanted to, how would that make you feel? What are you worried about? You're worried that I won't have a roof over my head? So help me understand. Do you actually think I'm going to be homeless? And then you get to other questions like, what's your understanding of how much people make? Like, what's the average amount of money that artists make? What's your understanding of art as a field? Right? Because especially the creative professions are changing drastically in the digital age. Entertainment, as we automate more and more stuff, like now we have self-checkout counters. We'll soon have drone delivery. We've got gigantic machines that require us to not have 1,000 farmers. Hydroponically grown vegetables. Lab-grown meat. So we may not need farmers for that kind of stuff too. As we're moving more and more and more towards automation and reducing, I don't even need to go to the store to buy something now. Shopping is decreasing, going to places, right? Retail has been suffering. Malls are on the out. So as we need less and less and less time as human beings to accomplish stuff, I've got a microwave, I've got frozen food. I don't even have to go to the grocery store. I order it online, shows up in a box with these cooler packs. I have all these different cooking services, right, that will deliver healthier meals to my door, give me step-by-step instructions, pre-measured everything. It's so easy to be human. And what do we do with all the time? We entertain ourselves. Explosion of entertainment. The one field that is growing faster than all other fields is entertainment. It's because we have more idle time. We have podcasts for when I do go out do the dishes. I'm watching a show when I'm on the treadmill. I'm playing a game on the toilet. And not just a cell phone game. You can take a Switch in there. You can take a Steam Deck in there. You could play a real game, right? Because for a while, portable games weren't real games. Anything that I can play on my desktop, I can now play while using the bathroom, in the tub, on an airplane. So if you're trying to convince your parents that you want to go into an artistic or creative profession, there are people who will make emojis and sell them. People who will make artwork, and there's a market for it. Etsy. It's so easy now. I'm not saying it's easy to be an artist. There are all kinds of other problems with being an artist, right? The whole, I'm commissioning this artwork. Can you make it for me? I know I said I'd pay you $80, but how about $5? I'll give you exposure bucks instead. $5 actual dollars plus 75 exposure bucks. I have 400 followers on Twitter. I'll give a shout out to your stuff. You're going to get so much business. So there are unique challenges of being an artist in today's date and age too. But I don't think that the discrepancy between being able to pay a mortgage I think the discrepancy between being able to pay a mortgage as an engineer and as an artist is shrinking. So have a conversation with your parents. Talk to them about what they think, what they fear, you know. Oddly enough, I'm almost thinking that, so we have this parent coaching program that teaches parents how to talk to their kids. For the first time, I realized kids may want to use that program to learn how to talk to their parents. And the outcomes of the program are great. We're talking like improves relationships by like 30 to 40% in 8 weeks. Like improves communication by 33% in 8 to 12 weeks. Kids start coming to the dinner table of their own volition. It's not, you have to drag them out there. So anyway, we're way over time today, but I really appreciate everyone for coming. I know that sometimes these run a little bit long. I think we've squarely missed Ask a Coach, so apologies for that. Definitely check it out next week. And who are we going to raid, by the way? Chat. Yeah, we're going to raid Prime. Sounds great. Speaking of computer engineering, let's raid Prime and see what he's coding nowadays. We'll see y'all on Monday. So our Right in the Fields event is going on right now. So if y'all want to sign up for that, we're going to teach you all about these emotions we talked about today. Sorry for missing the Ask a Coach event. Last thing is we've got between 100 and 200 spots left on our first session on Us promotion. So if y'all want to take advantage of that, like, now's the time. We'll see y'all on Monday. Take care, everybody.